Motion to approve the regular meeting and proposed agenda. Moved by Commissioner Felber,
I'll second.
second by Commissioner Danielowski. All in favor?
Aye.
Moving on to an open public hearing. Brian Fleming, our Economic Development Coordinator. Brian.
Good morning, Chair and Board of Commissioners. Just as a brief overview, with the passage of the Housing Trust Fund Ordinance in February of this year, the Sherburne County created and established the Sherburne County Housing Trust Fund. The County Board has directed staff to develop program criteria to the Board for review. As such, Economic Development Authority has developed a homeowner rehabilitation loan program to address the rehabilitation of existing housing stock throughout the county. Pursuant to Minnesota State Statute and the Housing Trust Fund Ordinance, presented in the County Board meeting packet today are the documents to create a low-interest homeowner rehabilitation loan program to provide low-interest loans to property owners to be paid back through special assessment on the property in order to facilitate the replacement or repair of failing or faulty systems, energy efficiency upgrades or replacements, and/or any necessary accessibility accommodations. The County Attorney's Office has reviewed and approved the proposed documents as to form, and as per Section 4.3 of the Housing Trust Fund Ordinance, a public hearing is required for the establishment of any programming, which brings us to this point. And following the public hearing today, we respectfully request the Board to approve the establishment of the Sherburne County Housing Trust Fund Homeowner Rehabilitation Loan Program and related program criteria, application, and appeals process as presented and recommended.
Thank you, Brian. I need a motion to open the public hearing.
So moved.
Motion by Commissioner Schumacher,
Second.
second by Commissioner Felber. All those in favor?
Aye.
That being said, is there anybody here to speak on this issue? For the second time, is there anyone here to speak on this issue? Third and final call. Is there anyone here to speak on this issue? Seeing none, motion to close the public hearing.
So moved.
Commissioner Hulls,
I'll second.
Commissioner Danielowski seconds. Any further discussion? All those in favor?
Aye.
Public hearing closed.
Thank you, Mr. Chair, members of the Commission. Brian, do we have an action on this item?
Yes, thank you. So the action item would be to approve the establishment of the homeowner rehabilitation program and all related program criteria.
Need a motion to approve.
So moved.
Commissioner Hulls,
I'll second.
Commissioner Danielowski seconds. Any further discussion? All those in favor?
Aye.
All those opposed? Motion carried. Thanks, Brian.
Thank you.
And the next public hearing, Corey Mavis Rowe, Director of Community Corrections. Good morning.
Good morning, Commissioners. I am here as a brief overview. I requested a public hearing at our last board meeting to address their 2025 fee schedule. The reason for the change in the fee schedule is, as you know, the Department of Corrections subsidy is lower than anticipated since the last 2 years. So we're looking at addressing some of the fees in community corrections. Specifically, what we're looking at is to have a $50 drug testing fee. We're looking to increase program fees for the adults in the Driving with Care Level 1, Level 2, and Decision Points group by $50.
All right, that being said, this is a public hearing. Need a motion to open the public hearing?
So moved.
Commissioner Hulls,
Second it.
Commissioner Felber seconds. All those in favor?
Aye.
That being said, is there anyone here to speak on this issue? Is there anyone here to speak on this issue? Third and final call. Is there anyone here to speak on this issue? Need a motion to close the public hearing.
So moved.
Commissioner Hulls,
Second.
Commissioner Felber seconds. Any further discussion? All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Public hearing closed.
Thank you.
Corey, is this an action item then?
There is, the recommendation is to approve the proposed revisions to the all services and fee schedule reflecting changes in the fees for community corrections, and then those would be effective August 1st of this year.
So moved.
Commissioner Felber,
Second.
Commissioner Schumacher seconds. Any further discussion? All those in favor?
Aye.
Moving on to number 3.1, consider approval of proclamation designating July 20th to the 26th as Sherburne County Pretrial Probation and Parole Supervision Week.
Hello again, Commissioners. Yes, we are in that week as of today. So the week started this Sunday, and I would like just to take a quick moment to recognize the community corrections staff of Sherburne County. I would put this team up against anybody in the state in regards to what we're doing with clients. As you know, we're dealing with clients that have extreme substance abuse issues, anger issues, also mental health issues. And some of the folks that are here today standing in the back are the community corrections staff. So I'd like to give a shout out to them and the excellent work that they do day in and day out. This is just 1 week out of the year that we get to recognize them. So without further ado, I would like to call up Kathy Pozlusny, who's behind me. On the streets, I guess she's called K-Poz. She embodies what we do in community corrections. She's retiring at the end of this month after 43 years of public service with our department. And so I would like her to read the proclamation and give her the honor. So Kathy.
Thank you.
Welcome.
Welcome, good morning. Can you hear me?
We can.
Whereas National Pretrial Probation and Parole Supervision Week is recognized each year during the third week of July, and whereas Sherburne County Community Corrections plays a vital role in the justice system, and whereas Sherburne County Community Corrections professionals uphold the law with dignity while recognizing the right of the public to be safeguarded from criminal activity, and whereas the dedicated professionals of Sherburne County Community Corrections supervise both adult and juvenile clients residing within the county, and whereas Sherburne County Community Corrections collaborates with local law enforcement and key community partners to enhance public safety, and whereas pretrial, probation, and parole officers are committed to providing evidence-based and individualized resources to clients, holding them accountable, supporting their progress, and helping reduce the risk of reoffending, thereby contributing to a safer community. And whereas these professionals also offer vital support, services, and protection to victims of crime, and whereas Sherburne County Community Corrections staff are dedicated to fostering positive client outcomes and promoting community well-being through effective supervision and rehabilitative practices. Now therefore be it resolved that July 20th through July 26, 2025 is recognized as Sherburne County Community Corrections Pretrial Probation and Parole Supervision Week.
Need a motion to accept the proclamation.
So moved.
I'll second that.
Commissioner Halls, Commissioner Felber seconds. Any further discussion?
I just want, oh, go ahead. I just wanted to say thank you so much. We are very blessed to have the awesome community corrections people that serve this county in regards to dealing with, at times, I can only imagine, very difficult. I know you call them clients, and the work to rehabilitate. So from the bottom of my heart, thank you so much for making Sherburne County a safer place and for all your work with the clients that you work with. And I did have an experience back when I would be called a victim, I guess, from a theft situation. And I'd have to say it's commendable how much the staff stays on top of those reimbursement programs, to where if you have made a decision that you're going to take restitution, they are on top of it and they close that file as quickly as they can. So that's a positive. I don't think that happens a lot in other areas. So I'm making an assumption, obviously, but in my case, it was well done. And it did also help the person that committed the theft also not basically ruin the rest of his life. He was able to go on and do the things that he was looking forward to doing after he had unfortunately made a bad decision for a moment in time. So thank you very much. Thank you.
Commissioner Holmes?
Yeah, I just want to mention, I just want to second what you said, Corey, about you'd put this team up against any team in the state. And I have to wholeheartedly agree with that. First off, I started serving on the County Corrections Board as of January. And I think your organization is extraordinarily well-run, and that's a testament to you and your leaders. And I think to the team as a whole. The team as a whole is extremely professional. So I want to thank you for all your work and all your dedication, and I'm just extremely impressed with the professionalism of the organization.
Yep, once again, yes, thanks for all you do. I have a deep appreciation and understanding for how hard your job is, and I guarantee you that I personally will continue to lobby at every state committee, at every state organization, and on my own time to make sure that you have a more equitable retirement program than you have right now. And that's the best thing I can say about that.
Mr. Chairman, and for me coming into this role in a new position where I'd never been to community corrections, I'd actually never been to that side of the building in my time that I've lived in Sherburne County. And the thing that resonated the most with me is, today's inmate is tomorrow's neighbor. And it's your department that gets them, the client, to the next chapter, to get them to go so that they don't reoffend and that they see the next chapter of the future of, integration back into the community. So I want to thank you for that. It's an eye-opening experience for someone who just hadn't been to that side of the building in my 40-plus years here in this county. So thank you for everything that you guys do. All of you make a difference for our community.
I think it's really good that you haven't been to that side of the building.
I go over there all the time.
Unlike Greg, I didn't understand community corrections, but I understand the importance, and I think the staff doesn't get thanked enough. They're in that office. We don't get to that side of the building a lot, just like Brad said. So what they do is vitally important to the county, to the staff, to us as board commissioners. We thank you, and we appreciate every one of you, and I think you know that.
Commissioner, can I just say one more thing? I went off my notes, which I should never do, but I want to also acknowledge our support staff and our management team. The probation officers always get they're out there working with the clients, right? But their support staff are the ones that are greeting these individuals when they come in and making sure that our POs know what's going on in our lobbies, if there's safety concerns in that. So a shout out to our support staff unit. Also our management team, I can't take the credit. We have a great management team. Brent Schmidt, Bobby Schaefer, and Mia Higgins. So just wanted to acknowledge them too.
And Mr. Chair, before you vote on the proclamation, I did get a note from the sheriff, and he implored me that I include it in the comments here. And that was with respect to Corey's response that the department is second to none. The sheriff asked that there be a proviso with the exception of the interdepartmental volleyball tournament. The department is second to none. So.
We have a motion on the floor and a second. Discussion's done. All those in favor?
Aye.
All those opposed? Proclamation carries. Thank you.
Thank you.
Moving on to our second proclamation, I'm going to turn it back over to Corey Mavis and Bobby Schaefer.
Hello again. This is my last item for the agenda. And we have Bobby Schaefer coming to us live from some undisclosed area. But we are here to celebrate Kathy today. And so, Bobby, I'm going to have you take it over. They've heard enough from me. And go ahead, Bobby.
Hey, good morning. Can you hear me?
Yep.
Good morning from Nashville. Hello, everyone. I just wanted to read a proclamation honoring the retirement of Kathleen Pazluzny, Sherburne County Community Corrections Probation Officer. Whereas Kathy Pazluzny will retire effective July 30th, 2025, after more than 43 years of dedicated and distinguished service to Sherburne County. And whereas throughout her remarkable career, Kathy has exemplified unwavering loyalty, exceptional professionalism, and a spirit of giving, consistently placing the needs of others above self. And whereas Kathy has demonstrated an incredible work ethic and been a model of integrity and compassion, consistently delivering the highest quality of service in every role held and every life touched. And whereas Kathy's presence, personality, and positivity will be sorely missed by friends and colleagues alike. Now, therefore, be it resolved that the Sherburne County Board of Commissioners wishes to honor and celebrate Kathy's retirement with deepest appreciation for 43 years of outstanding public service, anticipating that her next chapter be filled with joy, good health, and the satisfaction of a job not just well done, but extraordinarily done. Be it further resolved that the Sherburne County Board of Commissioners joins with county staff and so many throughout the community in wishing Kathy all the best in retirement by declaring July 30th, 2025, Kathleen Pozluzny Day here in Sherburne County.
I need a
Mr.
motion.
Chair,
I'll make a motion
I
to,
will, oh, sorry.
I'm sorry,
Commissioner Felber,
make a motion to pass the proclamation.
I'll second.
second by Commissioner Danielowski. Any further discussion?
I just want to say I've known Kathy for many, many, many years. And I knew when she served on the City of Big Lake, she was a city council member. And she is also the president of our auxiliary unit in Big Lake. And she is by far the most dedicated person to whatever she gets herself involved in. She's also the treasurer of the Beyond the Yellow Ribbon for Big Lake. And I know that I'm sad to see her go, but she's earned this retirement. And she's done such an amazing job for all of the citizens in Sherburne County. But I have no doubt that she will find herself busier than what she is now, because that's just how she is. She will get involved and she gives it her 200% of her efforts and stuff. So thank you very much, Kathy, AKA KPOS. Are you going to retire that? Or can? Okay, so now I know what I need to refer to her when I do run into her in the city. I'll be calling her KPOS. Thank you so much for your service. Well-deserved retirement.
Any other ones?
43 years. Wow. That's about all I can say. Thank you very much for your
started when
service.
I was 2.
That makes sense. It really does.
I like your thinking.
I find it redundant that we're going to honor someone and make a proclamation that has more service in than the 5 of us combined.
Yeah.
Yeah, and older than you, more than you. So, we have a motion on the floor. All those in favor?
Aye.
All those opposed? Thank you.
Mr. Chair, we do want to take a photo after Kathy says a few words, so would you prepare to come up front there?
Thank you very much. What an honor. I don't know what to say. For once, I'm speechless. Thank you very much.
Need you guys to step back a little bit.
Give them a look, so just tear the covers off.
It's okay, younger mode, right? Yep. Sure. I can fix it later too. Let's get the whole department up here.
You want us to exit?
You know, you stay.
Good for you guys. No kidding.
I'll do that. Come on, big guy. I can't believe Corey didn't practice this.
These guys. I'm gonna run to the other side, way over in the corner. We'll get it.
Maybe over there.
Jump on in. Corey, you're in the middle, front row.
Of course he is.
Weird. Winning volleyball team. Need a wider lens.
For Jenna?
And if you guys would stay for a department photo, the commissioners will sneak out.
Sounds good, yes.
Kathy, get in the middle.
Lost that guy. Here, want to get We're switching gears. That's Leon, man.
Okay, squeeze in, guys. Squeeze in.
All right.
All right. Thanks, Dave.
I did. Oh, it's fun surprise.
Oh, guys, go, darn it.
Okay.
What an honor.
Now where are we off to? Are we done now?
Open forum, you done? Motion to adjourn?
It's gonna be a day.
It might be Greg.
What's that? Yes.
Yeah, so's mine. All right, we're done with all the pop and circumstance for this morning. Moving on to open forum. Keisha, is there anyone on the list for open forum?
Yes, Board Chair, we have 5 people total on the list for open forum, 4 of which will all be speaking on the liquor license, 1 of which will be speaking on the plat.
Can I see that? Thank you. That being said, in the essence of time, there's 5 people on the liquor license, 4 of them on the open forum for the liquor license. Could we consolidate that to 1 individual?
Gary, is your mic on?
No, now it is. Could we consolidate that to 1 individual speaking in regards to the liquor license? Then we have a John Alfreds that's gonna talk about the plat. That being said, the reason for that is basically the liquor licenses are on the agenda this morning, and I refer to like not have things on the agenda that are being spoke at open forum. So of the 4, Carol Zimmerman, Tony Zimmerman, Luke Anderson, and Kay Blaine, is there one of you that wants to speak, or can you consolidate that up?
I will speak.
Okay, all right, Carol.
My name is Carol Zimmerman. I'm a special education teacher. This fall will be my 36th year teaching, and my husband and I own Boulder Creek Wine Bar. Thank you for the opportunity to speak today. I am here to respectfully request the approval of the liquor license application for Boulder Creek Wine Bar. This is a small, family-owned winery that represents the best of our community values: local craftsmanship, responsible business practices, giving back to the community, and a deep appreciation for the land that we call home. Boulder Creek Wine Bar is not a typical establishment. It's open just 10 weekends a year, offering a quiet, tucked-away gathering space surrounded by nature. This is not a late-night bar or a high-traffic venue. It's a place where neighbors and visitors can come and slow down, enjoy locally made wine, and connect with the natural beauty of our region. The wine is served is handcrafted on site using local ingredients, supporting not only agricultural practices in our area, but also our broader local economy. This winery is part of a growing trend of rural businesses that blend hospitality, sustainability, and provide low-impact tourism opportunities. We understand that during other public comment period, concerns were raised by a couple neighbors. While we take every concern seriously, it is important to consider the full context. The objection appears to stem from a single individual and does not reflect the overall sentiment of their surrounding community. We've spoken to many different residents who are supportive of our winery's continued limited operation. This winery has demonstrated responsibility, respect for neighbors, and compliance with the county regulations, and its 10-weekend schedule ensures minimum impact on traffic and noise levels. Approving this license is not just about one business. It's about signaling our support for local small businesses, for agricultural-based small businesses, and for a community that values fairness and inclusion. Thank you for your time, your service, and your thoughtful consideration for our application.
Thanks, Carol. Keisha, probably other one, John Alferts? John. Here to speak on the plat.
Good morning. I'm John Alfords. I've lived here all my life. I live on the end of Birch Lake. I have, I had 27 acres, but we've decided that we wanted to give one of our children a 2.5 acre piece of property to build a house on. So as you get older, you got one of your children close to you. But I never realized what a process it is to give away free land. So anyway, we've been going through this for about 1.5 years, and the reason why we had to change from general rural to shoreland was for the driveway. We didn't have quite enough footage there to make the driveway work, and so that's what we need to change that, and then we have already platted a 2.5 acre piece for my boy.
Thank you.
Thank you.
There's no interaction.
Yeah, sir, your item will be addressed by the board here in about another 15 or so minutes. It's on the regular agenda, so appreciate your comments now.
Okay.
I can show you on the agenda so you see where it is if you want to follow along.
Alrighty.
Three and four. I didn't catch that.
What's that?
I didn't catch it. On the agenda. Yep. Yeah, my apologies to that. I didn't catch that was on the agenda. Number 3 and 4.
So,
That's right. John said he wants some entertainment, so he's going to watch, so.
Thank you.
I'm not dancing.
I want you to sing.
Oh.
Brianne does the dancing, you do the singing.
Okay, we got it figured out now.
Moving on to number 5, the consent agenda.
Yes.
Anyone pulling anything?
Mr. Chair, members of the commission, I have received requests for the following items to be discussed separately. First is item 5, the liquor licenses.
Okay.
And then items 17, 18, and 20, right, Greg? 20, and item 20.
Yeah, I do still want to talk about the vehicle charging a little
Yep,
bit.
17, 18, and 20, and item 5. So
Just
those,
briefly.
those 4.
So I'd make a motion to approve the consent agenda, pulling items 5, 17, 18, and 20.
I'll second.
Commissioner Halls makes the motion. Commissioner Danielowski seconds. All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye. All those opposed? Same sign. Motion carries.
With respect to item 5, I'm going to ask Keisha to pull it up. The request was specific to one liquor license, and so if the board is amenable, we can have an motion to approve the liquor licenses as presented, with the exception of the Boulder Creek Wine Bar. So that would include the remaining ones, the Getaway Bar, Palmer House, Briggs Lake Liquor, Sand Dunes Spirits, and Bailey Ray's Roadhouse, contingent upon updating their name with the Secretary of State.
I would make that motion.
Commissioner Felber motions.
Second.
Second by Commissioner Halls. Any further discussion? All those in favor?
Aye.
All those opposed? Okay, moving on to the Boulder Creek Wine Bar. Is that the one you want to talk about now?
Yes, sir. And we do have a staff update once you have any discussion, or we can provide that whenever you're ready.
Well, I think the first thing I'm going to say is we need to take the application for their liquor license as two separate entities. The CUP and the application for liquor license have to be done separately. What's been entered in for the record, am I correct, Don?
Commissioner, yes, if I may. So what is before the board today is the application for the liquor license, not specifically the conditional use permit or the IUP.
Okay. Staff update?
Thank you, Mr. Chair, members of the commission. Lorraine and Lynn are here. Do you guys want to do an update, or do you want me to try to summarize first?
I want to summarize first.
So by brief update of summary, as you know, this was before us a couple of months ago for a liquor license because it was not in place, and so that was for the remainder of the year. So this would be for the next year. At the time, there was also a request in front of the board regarding, as the attorney has noted, a CUP and an IUP, which ultimately were denied by the board. The subject property is still operating under an existing CUP. We were on site on Friday for a site visit by planning and zoning staff, and the opinion of staff was that they were in full compliance with the CUP with the site visit on Friday. We also were on site on Saturday, or near site, observing the close of business because there was a clarification necessary on what close of business means under the conditional use permit. The county attorney and the planning and zoning administrator, under their authority, have interpreted the CUP to say that the 6 p.m. closing time means close of operations, not ending of liquor service. On Friday, it was clear that the facility did close at 6 p.m. However, there were vehicles observed leaving as late as 6:30 p.m. So with that information, we reviewed as staff. It is the opinion of your auditor treasurer, who oversees the state liquor licenses, that at this point there is not a basis for denial of a liquor license. However, from planning and zoning, we would note that there will continue to be conversations with the license holder, that our intent is that close of operations means at 6 p.m. or as close as reasonably possible to 6 p.m. And should there be an issue with that, then we would be in front of the board to discuss either a revocation of the liquor license and or a violation of the CUP requiring enforcement. At this point, we have been communicated with from the applicant or the license holder that they are doing a last call, which is a good business practice. That may have to be adjusted so we don't see vehicles leaving as late as 6:30. At this time, we will continue to do periodic observations. Of course, we may or may not be able to identify who is a patron and who is a family member without more significant expenditure of public resources. And we don't, at this point, feel for a land use issue that that's necessarily going to be every weekend. But we do anticipate we'll be in additional communications with the license holder regarding our understanding of what close of business means.
Okay.
Well, then, in the.
Oh, and I should say, excuse me, one other thing. There was a question raised about law enforcement presence. I will indicate to you that that was not related to the operation of the wine bar. It happened to be in the neighborhood, but it was not related to the wine bar. So any indication of law enforcement activity, we can find no nexus between the two.
And Mr. Administrator, if I may, Board, if I may clarify. There had been, the reason for that information being provided to you, which is public information for call to service data, was that there had been some concern expressed. There had been police presence or a police call. And so, yes, it was not specifically related to the operation of the wine bar. I would also ask that before the board goes into any additional discussion about the liquor license itself, perhaps Mr. Chair could reiterate, and I'm happy to assist with just establishing again what's before the board in terms of the record, if I may. So that, and I think that perhaps applicant had spoken to this during open forum, but made reference to other comments having been made at previous hearings. This board's obviously aware of that. They happened at public hearings. Additionally, however, information primarily through emails had been received over the last few weeks. I know that some or all of that was going to the county commissioners as well. So I would simply identify that that information in large measure was duplicative. However, there were some additional attachments and information that I believe the commissioners received. That included a photograph posted at the establishment, a petition signed by neighbors in opposition. There was a harassment petition and related documents that was provided. And then obviously you have the information that was provided via zoning staff today. I would just ask if the board would confirm that that is part of the record here, and that if any of that information is being drawn on by the commissioners for their decisions, that they refer to that and how it does influence their decision. Thank you.
So, in the narrow application, we are addressing just the liquor license, being as there is, at this point in time, no legal basis to deny it, I would move that we approve the liquor license for the Boulder Creek Wine Bar.
Motion by Commissioner Felber,
I'll second.
second by Commissioner Danielowski. Any further discussion?
I have further discussion. If we scroll the screen up, I based my decision on what the board had done. If you look at the comments inside this packet, the township board had unanimously approved it. There was conversation, but they had approved that, and that's in the packet, and that's why I'm going to vote yes for this, is because I'm not going to go against the town board, who is the local operator of their community. When they're voting yes for this, it would come into us like we were going to change direction. They voted yes, comes to us, I'm voting yes. My discussion, thank you.
Anyone else? Commissioner Halls.
I just think it's important to, and maybe we're just re-emphasizing the same points, is that there's a lot of information that has been received by emails, through various public forums, through open forum, et cetera. But we have to a great extent, separate the wheat from the chaff and look at what the specific issue is that we're looking at, and what are the relevant facts to that specific piece. And I agree with Commissioner Felber at this point. There is nothing. I believe the county has done its due diligence, and there is nothing to indicate a legal basis for denial. So I'm in support of what Commissioner Felber said as well.
Commissioner Danielowski.
I concur with everything that's been said.
I don't think this issue is fell on deaf ears. I think it's been difficult for everyone, especially me. This sits in the middle of my district. I've been at the San Diego Township meeting, and I concur with Brad in regards to that their initial application, planning and zoning meeting, all of that, I've been at them all. Maybe missed one or two here or there, but yes, this is a difficult decision to say the least. So with that being said, any further discussion? We have a motion on the floor for approval. Is there any One else? All those in favor?
Aye.
All those opposed? Aye. Motion carries.
Okay.
Moving on.
Items 16, or 17 and 18, Greg, do you want to take discussion together? They're related, or do you want to separate them?
No, we can kind of talk about together.
And I'll just have Andrew come up and just give you a brief summary of the project. This is the kind of the last piece in our project that's been before you several times regarding a grant application to acquire electric vehicles for the county fleet. Included in that is a charging station for that fleet, and then also a public charging station that would be a fee-for-service basis. So it would not be a free charging station at that point. Andrew can talk a little bit about the project and the location, I think, which was one of Commissioner Felber's questions. Do you want him to talk first, or do you want to pose your questions, Greg?
I could just, I mean, we can probably cut this down pretty quickly. My concern was the location of where they're being put at. You know, playing with my little GIS app, which you're all tired of, I figured out it's about 100 yards past the rest of the fleet vehicles, no matter which way we do it. So my question was, one, how much it would cost to move it closer? And if that'd be something, and I know that this is not something everybody likes to hear, would it be worth the time and the money to bring them closer? I'm just concerned that when it's, you know, that, I mean, the vehicles being stored out there, and the new plan, my understanding, is to just charge them there and keep moving them down to the fleet. Do we think that that's the most effective thing, or do we make the financial commitment to move them closer just to have it to be more efficient in the long run? And I think the difference on that's about $100,000.
Yeah, I'm going to wag it. Andrew will fill it in, but I have to tell you, you know, this is like perfect reverse scenario. Usually the bureaucrats want to spend the tax money, and not the bosses. So we're loving this conversation. But we actually did. I'm kidding, you know. But we did look at several locations, and it's a great question. And so if you're okay, I'm going to have Andrew address it. And I wagged that number, so you'll actually be more honest with what the upcharge was to put it closer. So.
Thank you, Mr. Chair, County Commissioners. All great discussion, appreciate it. So we have looked at a number of locations in conversation with county administration, with building facility maintenance, and as well as taking a look at it from a project perspective.
And the utility company too. So.
Yep, I was going to say, and because it is they are federal funds that we're utilizing for the bulk of this project, we do have some limitations to minimize impacts to the site and the area. So that being said, we certainly can take a look at potentially moving them closer. We will need to revisit the environmental documents as have been submitted to the state already. But that's something that we can certainly entertain as far as moving them closer to a different location. Now, I will say out towards I'll say the northwest corner of the large north parking lot, right near the entrance, there's two separate banks of chargers. One of them is a fast charger for folks that are utilizing that along Trunk Highway 10 as a corridor for electric vehicles. We think those should stay in that location just because it's an easy route to come in and ingress and egress from the site. Again, those have the opportunity to be fee-based as well, so it's not anything that we're subsidizing from Sherburne County's perspective. The second bank is one that would be utilized for the fleet vehicles and charging of the fleet vehicles. And again, through discussion, we thought that was the most appropriate location. But again, we can certainly revisit that as well.
So you're hedging a bit. Dave, you were out there because Ted and Dan aren't here when we talked with Elk River. The issue is that their one station is on the north side of Business Center Drive, and that was a harder connect, right? Right off of Goner Drive.
Yep, so they'll be relocating, not relocating, they will be installing a new transformer over on our property in very close proximity to where the two banks of chargers are now being suggested to be located.
Yeah, so the original plan was actually to come through the building, and that's where it got very cost prohibitive to come to the current location. Then the second site was directly north of the current fleet and to come under the road, I think.
Yep.
And that was fairly expensive as well. And so with the utility, this was the recommended site. Operationally, what I told Greg is, you know, we were planning on charging some of these overnight. And if utilization is impacted by the site, then we'll just bring some or all into the current fleet for day use. So I think operationally it's not ideal, but we can, if, I didn't know there was time, if we want to reprice it, what we could do is just have you approve the contractual agreements, because any difference in charge we'd have to pay locally, so.
Can we bring up the map, please?
Oh, yeah, Keisha, do you want to bring the map up?
So, you know, I'm still not a fan of electric vehicles or the electric vehicle process at all. I just, if we are gonna, we've got the grant, and we don't like to send grants back. So I just want to make sure that we're giving it, if we're gonna do it, yeah, like you say, this is exactly the opposite of what I would usually do, but,
Yeah, we could, I mean, we'll talk to Elk River and get a price for moving it, but you
yeah,
can
just,
see.
I mean, yeah, just to make sure that we give it the best chance of success, period.
Yeah,
That
so-
people really get the utilization out of these vehicles. I see it mostly as being like something you're gonna grab and run short distance. I don't see you grabbing one of these bad boys and going to Mowabic in January with it, because you might not have a charging station when you get there, so.
So on the map, if you look, you can see where the fleet vehicles are now. They're in a north-south line right off of Goner Drive to the east of it. So the original thought was to run a line through the building and have our charging station where the current fleet vehicles are. That failed just because the cost of going through the building. So then the second one was straight north across on Goner Drive, where there is I don't know what you want to call it, transformer box, but Elk River doesn't have the phasing there, I guess, so that would be a significant utility upgrade. And so the option that we went to is where there's an existing transformer box that actually phases in from both sides. And then you can see we have the two stations not that far. But again, during winter and stuff, if there's an issue of people choosing intentionally not to use the EVs, we would just, every night, by the way, your facilities guys goes out, clean the vehicles, make sure they're gas, things like that. We would just relocate after charging.
Well, so my question is, so there's the north-south line of the fleet vehicles. Isn't there also an east-west line? Isn't that an east-west line of
The Public Works vehicles.
public vehicles? Well, my question is there an option, maybe the other option to look at is just having the EVs stationed closer to the charging station? Then it's kind of irrelevant.
Yeah, that's in essence what we're going to do with that. I'll call it the northwest versus, I'll call it more the west one, is have it there. But we don't want to pull the fleet signs down from in front of the building, because then it'll just become either employee use or public use. So again, we can rotate if we need to.
Well, but I mean, you can also you could also dedicate some additional parking to the EV fleet, right? And
Well, that's the plan, yeah.
right, and so you're not pulling the fleet signs down from the existing
Correct.
side. You're just adding additional spaces. So we might have more spaces for the fleet vehicles than we actually have vehicles.
Correct.
Which would be fine. But, you know, I want to do it in the most cost-efficient manner possible. But I also want to make it, I don't think it's that big of a deal to walk a few more feet to pick up the EV versus one of the other vehicles. And I think the county staff will make that choice based on what they're what they're going to do. Now, if it doesn't cost any more to relocate the charging station, then I'm fine. But I don't want to. My opinion is I would rather move where those vehicles are located and have them closer to the stations than spend a bunch of money. But I don't know what the cost difference would be.
Yeah, we can revisit, and I'll follow up in a follow-up memo with you with Elk River. When we found out we couldn't come through the building, if you see the northwest charging red line there, just imagine shifting that as far east as you could on that upper area. That was kind of there you go. That's the area that we thought, okay, that'll be the good spot. And again, we thought because there was a transformer box north of Business Center Drive there, it'd just be an easy connect. And they're like, yeah, no, doesn't work that way. So that's why we ended up here. But we'll look at the cost. Again, the cost would not be absorbed by the grant. It would have to come from our local match. And we'll just revisit it. But the intent is that would have dedicated parking for the EVs. but we wouldn't necessarily lose the fleet parking by the building. And I kind of hear what Greg's saying. I mean, if it's cold in the winter and I go online and I'm staff wants to do a quick run, I might not choose the EV if I know I got to walk that extra mileage. So if we can rotate and it's not, we have, the good news is we have really good metrics now with our fleet, so we can see what's happening. If they're getting overutilized, that's a great thing. If they're getting underutilized, then we may have to do more pre-staging. So I think we're good.
It's 100 yards and 30 below, so, that's a factor.
Mr. Chairman,
Mr. Schumacher.
I feel like you guys are kind of boxing me out. You guys kept telling me when I got this position to keep parking out here. Where do you guys want me to park now?
I thought we told you to park at Chow.
That's it. I've been walking that whole time.
I got a spot for you if you want it. So. Yeah, no, I think it's a great conversation. I like I said, I'm impressed that that somebody's thinking about utilization. We were thinking more about cost and that. So I really appreciate it. And I apologize, Ted and Dan aren't here because they were on tour. And Dave, you were out there with us, right, on the one day? Oh, Dan's here. How we doing?
I mean, Dan loves
Dan's hiding. He usually sits up there. Dan, do you remember the cost? The cost impact? It was big bucks, right? It was between 50 and 100. There you go. So that's where it came from. So, but yeah, so we'll revisit it. But if you're okay with it, I think we just get the grant agreement signed and move forward. So thanks.
Yep.
Mr. Chair, I'll make a motion then to approve the resolution number 70722 2580 3226 and 3227.
We have a motion on the board by Commissioner Danielowski,
Second.
second by Commissioner Halls.
I want to.
Further discussion?
Yes, I want to rephrase the beginning of the conversation. We said this would be brief.
Thank you for that comment.
Thank you.
Yeah, we'll be.
And you notice I didn't speak at all.
I just want to remind everybody that Commissioner Felber actually wanted to spend some money, and he also said it's very bad that we don't want to turn down grant money. So I just thought that was interesting. So
I said we don't like to.
all those in favor?
Aye.
All those opposed? Motion carries. Number 20, Bruce.
Mr. Chair, members of the commission, I think this was pulled for additional conversation. Commissioner Felber had some questions. Mr. Witter was unable to get here before the meeting, so I'll let Commissioner Felber ask his questions. I wasn't privy to the details of what he wanted to get in additional information on.
I guess my number one question, I mean, once again, playing with my home GIS, I come up with, we have about 150-foot easement across that space already, which could be reasonably close to accurate, but probably not 100% accurate. And I'm just wondering why we actually have to have that space in the corner, that it's so important that we're going to do, because everybody knows that I have issues with, eminent domain.
Hold on here. Mr. Chairman,
Commissioner Schumacher.
when I was mayor of the city of Princeton, I approved the Casey's permit to get built on this parcel of land, and they withdrew that at that time. Like, this parcel is, and that trail right here runs along the tennis courts of the Princeton High School. You can't see this whole map, but if you could scroll out on it, you would understand the public use in this corridor section right there. And what we're looking at is at the bottom, excuse the pointer right there. I'll save my rebuttal questions for after the discussion.
Mr. Chair, if I can give a little bit of background to the matter.
Mr. Witter.
Absolutely.
Mr. Chair, County Commissioners, so as you can see on the aerial that's up right now, underneath the cursor, we've got what we call a flared end section or a pipe outlet there. And on the other side, now underneath where the cursor currently is, in between there you can see a dark line. So there is drainage easement in that area currently right now. The issue we're having with some of the improvements that we're making to the city street to help facilitate the movements from the commercial district and more importantly, the hospital, which is just off the screen to the west here, we needed to adjust the curb line, adjust the storm sewer, and do some slope and grading work out here. In order to do that, we need to acquire the appropriate easement, which is more than just a drainage easement, whether that be acquired or by prescriptive rights. We had all indications from Casey's legal team that we were gonna be able to work this out prior to the project. As you can tell, it's probably not their highest priority. So in order to secure that property necessary to do the grading work, the slope work, continue building that as that is, and more appropriately in the future memorialize that easement correctly, that's the reason that we are requesting acquisition by eminent domain in this location.
It was on the other end of the. Can you go back to the original map, please? It shows the. Okay, all right,
So you can see this dashed green line as I'm highlighting here?
okay.
That's our construction limits.
Well, then that like literally answers my question.
Okay, and to be clear, this parcel is still, we're talking eminent domain here, but we're still in negotiation with landowner? for the purchase of that property?
Correct.
This is just to be preemptively engaged if they decide those negotiations don't go the right direction?
Correct.
That we're lined up so this project stays on track and not get delayed immensely? Is that-
Correct.
Am I right in that aspect?
Yep, you're absolutely correct. So it's our intentions and, you know, we anticipate that it will be settled, you know, voluntarily versus continuing.
Well, this
through
is
the
just
final action.
procedural, basically, that we're doing.
Correct.
Okay.
Mr. Chair, just one
Commissioner
question,
Halls.
just for clarification on my part. So you said already within this parcel is a drainage easement?
Yep, down in essentially the same area that we're showing in blue on the map.
So that's an existing drainage easement?
Yep.
And the purchase would be the total area under the blue and the light green?
Correct. Nope, let me rephrase that. The light green is an existing trail easement that's already in place, so we do not need to purchase that. What we're purchasing is permanent easement over the blue area.
Where the blue, but the blue area is already a drainage easement?
Correct.
Okay.
But we're doing more than just drainage in that easement, so we need to acquire it in permanent easement.
Okay.
I just, yeah, like I say, I just wanted to know why exactly we have to have it, and I prefer to have any eminent domain discussions done on the public rather than the consent agenda. So, other than that, yeah, now I know.
Fine.
Oh, yes, I move that we approve.
Approve.
I second it.
Right, Commissioner Felber makes a motion, Commissioner Schumacher seconds. Any further discussion? All those in favor?
Aye.
All those opposed, same sign. Motion carries.
Thank you.
That has to be.
No.
Wait a minute, no, don't give them fuel.
I was gonna say, don't throw that down as a challenge, because, you know,
It will go longer.
some days I don't have much to do after these meetings.
Announcements, Administrator Messelt.
Thank you, Mr. Chair, members of the commission. I'm going to keep mine brief because I enjoyed the consent agenda too much. If you'd look at calendar call, I want to hit this up real quick. Just a review with folks. First is I want to flag September 10th through the 12th. This is the AMC Policy Conference in Arrowwood. I'm wondering who is planning at this point on attending. So I got 4 out of 5. Brad, no? Okay. So Keisha, you got that?
I didn't say that, it's too far.
If you guys could also let me know what dates you plan attending. For instance, Gary gave me his dates, and it's not necessarily
The
the
same.
9th or the 12th. So if you have any adjustments with your calendar of what dates you're going to actually be needing lodging, that would be great.
And you reserved lodging already, right?
Lodging is reserved for all 5. Gary's dates are set for when he's needing lodging. Everybody's is checking in on the same day and checking out on the same day, which was emailed to you. And I will go in and I will cancel Commissioner Schumacher's
Hold on, not yet.
reservation.
Oh, he's still looking, so TBD.
He's still
I'm
got the
still looking.
calendar
He's-
open. Don't-
Okay.
don't-
What he's really doing is seeing if he can get lessons on cornhole toss, so before the big tournament.
It's
so.
bags,
for
not
goodness sakes.
cornhole.
Is it what?
It's bags.
Bags?
Yeah.
Bag
Oh.
tournament.
Bags.
Yeah,
Tournament. Oh.
I'm a farm guy in heart, so sorry.
Yeah.
Okay, so that'll be helpful. Yeah, if you want to fine tune your dates, let us know. Now, related to that, I just want to flag to you, AMC is starting their policy process. This is how you get things, or we get things on their platform, and then they're also their legislative priorities. So if you are thinking about something, and I'm thinking you and I should talk a little bit, make sure that we have in process the ones that this board's already approved that you're spearheading. Commissioner Hulse, I'm, for the record, just talking about the couple items we've been tracking. But if you would all take a look within your areas of interest and let me know if we want to pursue a formal amendment process or a policy process, this is where it starts. And I will send to you later today or tomorrow the calendar process for AMC, but it's important, this is our chance to really get 87 counties to support specific initiatives that we're interested in. So that kicks off on this. So if you would also not just think about your dates, but take a look at current AMC policies and things you'd like to add, change, this is where it occurs.
And I think too that, one thing I'll add at AMC, that some of the policies that might work for one of our committees might work for multiple, so be in communication with the other commissioners, that we can add it to our policy agenda for our specific committee that we're on. I think that that's important to do, so.
Yeah, and I think, was it last year or 2 years ago? I guess it was just last year. Rhiannon spearheaded a policy change, and it's a little bit of an effort, like any large organization. So there was the policy conference weekend, and then on December at the annual meeting, Commissioner Danielewski ended up testifying in front of 2 policy committees because the policy that she was looking at crossed over, and that came from your housing subcommittee work. So yeah, it is an effort, but it's worth it because it means that is the official position of AMC at the legislature.
Mm-hmm.
And somewhat related to that, I just want you to know I've been in conversation with Representative Meekland. I have not talked in detail with Senator Matthews, but they're looking very closely at the data center fallout from this past legislative session. I do anticipate, I don't know if it'll be an AMC position, but I do anticipate that between the city of Becker, Sherburne County, and those 2 legislators, that we'll probably want to look at revisiting with the legislature what happened with data centers, because in our feelings at the local level, it's probably killed the market. Not just cooled it, but killed it. Now, maybe some people are happy with that, I don't know, but from our economic development perspective, and the fact that we've been trying for a decade to have something other than a coal-fired plant there, and we've had the state get us several, $20-some million of investment, specifically to lose an entire market is I know, very tough on us, and you'll see it in the tax rolls as well. So, but anyhow, we'll talk more about legislative policy as we get ready. If you get those to me, by the way, then I'll have that scheduled in early August for us to talk about. Make sure that you as a body have said, yeah, we want to do this, so that we're prepared for the policy conference. Second of all, just a note, I did receive a request late yesterday for us to participate in a discussion with the Joint Powers Authorities for the airport. That would be, I assume, the city, the 3 counties, and the airport authority. This is the one that you spoke about quite a while ago. So I'll be circling back with the chair and vice chair who indicated that you would be participating on behalf of the county in those meetings. So we'll get that on your calendar. Also, just a note, I had indicated by email, I just want to affirm for everybody, I'm going to also try to schedule a tour for the county board of the waste management facilities here in the county. And I'll be working on that with Lynn and the county attorney staff to make sure that we get that scheduled for you. And then related, and this is not a must, but Andrew likes every couple of years to do a tour of our road and bridge projects as well as the county, and I'm wondering if this fall feels good for you. We skipped it a couple times, so I think it'd be fun to get it on. Usually he does Part A and Part B, but we never get to Part B. So maybe we'll start with Part B, which would be the western half, right? So is there an interest in getting that on your calendar? It's usually about a half-day effort.
Yeah, I'd like to do that, but I'd like to start it out with maybe, if not that day, a couple days before or the week before, do just a presentation of the next couple of years of projects, so we can visualize, what's coming up, and then go do the road tour.
Yeah, or depending on your your comfort level, there's a lot of downtime as we're driving between projects, and usually Andrew loves the microphone, and so we could do the briefing on the bus if you want. So, it's just a little more efficient. Otherwise, we're doing karaoke, just so you know. So, okay, all right. Then just I want to talk about a couple of other things real briefly. We had a very tragic incident, in the county on Friday. The sheriff has put out a statement that will speak for itself, and I just want the board to know and the public to know that there are several state statutes that we must follow with respect to sharing of any information. It doesn't mean individually you can't share your heartfelt condolences for any time we lose a member of our community prematurely, but whether it's law enforcement, health and human services, private data, there are several statutes that say we cannot speak about them. It's not that we don't want to, it's that we cannot, especially when there's an active investigation going on, that takes precedent. When things get to the charging level or the courts, it's a different animal. Then it becomes a public action. But I just hope you're comfortable. If you need Don and I to cite the statutes, we will, but we'd rather not, because then we could leave something out. But just know that, as a community, we obviously feel for any loss, and we also feel for our staff that have to deal with these things. And it's very, very tragic, and it impacts a lot of lives. With that, I'd like to shift to Saturday's incident. As you know, the government center was shot at and was entered on Saturday, and there was damage done to the facility. I want to share with you a little bit of an update that the sheriff has prepared. Let me just grab it here. We'll probably share this with staff as well, but just gives a little more detail. And again, this is still ongoing, as you know. Sorry, I had it teed up and then it disappeared there. Okay, so this is our update that we'll be sharing with staff after today, but while the investigation continues into the facts and motivations of this weekend's incident, there are a few conclusions to draw from based upon video evidence. Upon entry, the suspect appears to create a random path through the complex, checking some doors of different departments. No specific target area is sought. Upon exit, his actions in the jail's Sallyport parking area continue in the same manner, as it appears no specific target area is sought. This is not to minimize the threat of this individual or infer that precautionary improvements should not continue to be explored and implemented. In the coming days, the sheriff's office, and I will add, the entire county will be reaching out to several staff members to conduct an after-action report and follow up to this incident. What I want to note for you, of course, is that I do believe we were very lucky that nobody was in the facility, that very, very few people were in the parking lot. That being said, it impacts people differently, and some are being impacted much more than others. And we will work as a work family to help them and to address this. And I think it's also important to note that the actions taken by our law enforcement individuals on Friday and then again on Saturday were absolutely outstanding and amazing. And I would also note a group that we don't talk a lot about, and that is our facilities and maintenance folks, who were able to put the building back together to open for full operations yesterday morning, to a point that you really, really have to look and know what you're looking for to understand the impact of that. In doing so, I want to specifically highlight Ted's staff and Steve and Kevin, who were here all day, Saturday and Sunday. And also I want to highlight Dan, who drove in from St. Cloud and stayed here late Saturday, even after he kicked me out, and helped clean up glass. You don't see that type of commitment to an organization, and while the facility staff are doing their job, the way they did it, the way they approached it, makes me very, very proud that in a tragic incident like that, we can hold up the fact that there are people ensuring that public service is still provided. With that, I will stand for any questions about that particular incident that you have or would like me to address.
With the understanding, Commissioners, that only limited information can be provided.
Yeah, Don's kicking me under the chair here, so.
Well, I just want to say thank you. I think it's all of our nature that, you know, all 5 of us wanted to probably rush down here and see what we could do. But in that kind of instance, I think we leave that up to staff and our public safety staff to do that. And we're all at the ready if we needed to be, but I think everybody did admirably in that instance. So thank you.
Yeah, and, you know, I'll share with you a thought on that. I remember an election night where a couple of commissioners were here until election day after morning. There is a time and a place where we do really need you and want your hands-on leadership. The way this incident unfolded, you know, I was baggage until very late on Saturday. You know, handle the media, stay out of the way. There really, because of the nature of it, there wasn't a role other than knowing that your leadership and support was there. And that speaks volumes. So thank you for that.
Yeah, I mean, I was passing by, so I did pop in, and talk to some of the staff that was on scene and stuff, and I was not involved in taking care of it because I was not needed or effective. But I will say that they did, all the law enforcement partners that responded to that in the initial thing did a bang-up job of bringing it to a safe conclusion. That was an awesome response, and all the after investigations were fantastic. And then, once again, hats off to the physical staff that got this place back up and running. You know, I mean, it was really a great effort.
And I think I'll just, you know, put on the fact that Bruce said that everyone deals with it differently. I think that we, or the administration, human resources, will give whatever staff they need to get through this situation the utmost attention, you know, because we are one big group that works together. You done?
Done.
Okay.
All right. Regular agenda. Lynn Wojtachik, consider approval of conditional use permit for a personal storage structure.
Good morning, Commissioners. This is for Scott Reuter for a personal storage structure. This is in Palmer Township. He owns 0.15 acres in the Ag District and within the Shoreland District of Briggs and Rush Lake. Planning Commission recommended approval of the conditional use permit for the personal storage structure with the 5 conditions and the findings of fact.
I would motion that we approve the storage structure with the 5 conditions and findings of fact.
Moved by Commissioner Felber.
I'll second.
Second by Commissioner Danielowski. Any further discussion? Seeing none, all those in favor?
Aye.
All those opposed? Motion carries. Lynn, you are next, I guess, again. Consider approval of preliminary and final simple plat for Whiskey Flats, Lucas and Jennifer Olson.
And this is one lot in Blue Hill Township on 6.34 acres in the General Rural District and the Shoreland Overlay District of Battle Brook. Planning Commission recommended approval with the 2 conditions.
I would motion that we approve this final plat. I love the name, with the 2 conditions and finding of fact.
Moved by Commissioner Felber.
Second.
Second by Commissioner Schumacher. Any further discussion? All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Aye. All those opposed? Motion carries. Number 3, consider rezoning requests from general rural to shoreland residential. John Alferts.
And this is in Big Lake Township, 25 acres in, as you stated, the General Rural District and within the Shoreland District of Birch Lake. Planning Commission recommended approval of the rezone with the findings that are listed in your packet.
I would make the motion that we approve the rezone. It meets all the criteria necessary.
I'll second.
Motion by Commissioner Felber, second by Commissioner Danielowski. Any further discussion?
With the findings.
With the findings, sorry.
Second that. Commissioner Danielowski seconds. Any further discussion? All those in favor?
Aye.
All All those opposed? Number 4, consider approval of preliminary plat and final simple plat of Alford's Addition. John Alford's.
This is one lot again, same area. Planning Commission recommended approval for the preliminary and final simple plat of Alford's Addition with the 5 conditions in your packet.
Motion to approve with the findings of fact
Moved by Commissioner Schumacher.
And the 5
and
conditions.
conditions.
You got that?
Second?
Second by Commissioner Danielowski. Any further discussion? All those in favor? Aye. All those opposed? Greg said that he liked Whiskey Flats, I think. He's in the crowd today. I'm gonna say I like the Alford's Edition. We'll just give you that.
Okay. All right.
We'll move on to number 5. Consider approval of recommended changes to the Sherburne County subdivision ordinance for the final plat process. Lynn.
Yes, so the Economic Development Authority had recommended that we look at our ordinance to see where we could try to speed things up for developers. And so that was the reason for this amendment to the subdivision ordinance. It's going to reduce time by approximately 30 days, we estimate. There's no other changes to the ordinance. If the developer makes any changes between preliminary and final, it would still need to go back to the Planning Commission. This does not take away any of the comments or the approval authority of the townships. This is a win-win for everyone. It helps the developer, it helps the residents, and it helps the county to get these plats through quicker. It just makes it so that they don't have to go to the Planning Commission. They go straight to the county board if nothing changes. So we're looking for approval of the amendment.
So moved.
Yeah.
Moved by Commissioner Danielowski.
I would enthusiastically second that because, cutting down red tape is always a desirable effect.
Enthusiastically seconded by Commissioner Felber. Any further discussion?
It would be easier if you just went back to desk splits on land subdivisions. I'm just saying there is an easier way and it's done at other counties, but I'll approve this one.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
All those
Baby steps,
opposed?
Brad. Baby steps.
Number 6, consider appointment of county commissioner to serve on the Zoning and Subdivision Ordinance Update and Steering Committee. Mitch. Good morning.
Good morning. Thank you, Mr. Chair, County Commissioners. As you know, we are in the process of updating our zoning and subdivision ordinance. With that, we had met with our consultant Bolton and Mink to kick things off. A takeaway from that meeting was that we wanted to have a steering committee. With the steering committee, we wanted to have a representative from a lot of backgrounds in the county, private and public. Obviously, with that, it's important to have a county commissioner as a steering committee member. So with that, we are asking for the county commissioners to appoint one of you to be on the committee. But with that, I can just kind of go over what the purpose of the committee will be. That is to provide guidance, oversight, and support for the zoning and subdivision ordinance update process, to ensure that the zoning and subdivision updates align with the county's goals and objectives, as well as reflect the interests of the cities and townships in Sherburne County. The cities and townships have received surveys that we've sent out to kickstart it off. We wanted to get their input. Obviously, with the townships, we wanted to get any concerns that they have or any input that they want to see maybe changed or included in the ordinances. The cities, we wanted to get their input on the townships that actually surround the cities for, urban expansion, orderly annexation, see how they'd want those growth areas to be. And then to facilitate the decision-making process, the individual roles for the time commitment, attend an in-person kickoff workshop at the county offices here in Elk River sometime in August. We were shooting for the first week in August, but that is probably going to change due to the board meeting being today. So we still have other members that we want to see on the steering committee, representatives that we still have to reach out to, depending on what commissioner is chosen today. Attend 3 additional meetings between September 2025 and May of 2026, and provide updates to the full county board at the regular meetings to keep everyone informed regularly, and then review of the draft materials, approximately 1 hour every 2 months. So with that, I will answer any questions or just
Questions, comments? Mitch?
I do.
I just, oh, sorry.
Go ahead.
Thank you. Mr. Chair, I just wanted to also comment, I was at the Big Lake Township meeting. Planning and zoning has sent out kind of a brief questionnaire
Mhm.
in regards to, as a township, do you see anything that you want to have addressed, any of these changes? And the perspective from the township board was they didn't feel like they had enough information at that time to really make any comments, and they were looking for planning and zoning to be more like, what do you guys see that is happening more on any repetitive needs for ordinances to be changed, like requesting variances and such. So I just wanted to comment on that. I'm assuming you're going to be sending out invitations to the township board members as well to possibly sit and serve on this steering committee as well.
Yeah, we want representatives from the town boards, of course. We don't know if we want them from every town board, or if we just want representatives from, the west side, and one from the east side. So then we want to get private industry as far as builder, surveyor. So we want the private and public. We just, we'd want representatives from the county board, from planning commission, board of adjustment, town board, and again, the private industry. But I did clarify that with the clerk that, we need more of like, what has the township seen in the past that they'd want, implemented? Do they see patterns of variances? Do they see, even like the streamline for the standard plat process, something like that to make things easier for developers or residents?
Yeah, and I know it is hard for the staff to always get out there and maybe be there to answer any questions that might come of some of these asks. But that probably would have been helpful that night to get them a little more understanding as to what you were looking for. That's just a suggestion, so. Thank you.
Thanks.
Mr. Chairman,
Commissioner Schumacher?
when you say 8 to 10 community leaders, does that mean since there's 5 of us that I would get to select 2 of the community leaders that we would put on the steering committee? Because I have 2 highly qualified candidates that I would like to put their names on the committee for. Highly qualified.
We have openings.
Okay, I'll send it in to Bruce.
Okay.
And he'll have my 2.
Right now, we have reached out to at least 3 in the private, 2 in the private and 1 in the public in the Briggs Lake area. It's important for the hamlets and the shoreland and the egg, but yes, we have.
Commissioner Halls?
The only thing I was going to say is I see this as a kind of a direct dovetail to the EDA and to the economic development. So normally I would, volunteer to throw my hat in the ring for this. Now that being said, you might want to have someone who actually has a township in their district.
Yeah, thank you. Wow. What a revelation.
So and I'll help out however I can. Yeah, I'd love to do it, but it seems like it'd be more appropriate to have someone that has a township in their district.
Commissioner Halls is a no.
I would be willing to do it unless somebody else really, really wants it. I just picked up another statewide committee, so I'm not necessarily looking for additional committees right now.
Yeah, I picked up another statewide one too, but I've been on the town board for 18 years and now I'm on the county commissioners, planning and zoning, so it fits.
I would be willing to.
Okay.
One question that kind of came to mind when Commissioner Schumacher was talking, how are you looking to get public involvement? And are you putting out like an advertisement, or how are you looking to, or are you looking for us to possibly recommend some?
So when we did the comp plan, the public was highly included, as far as feedback. For our zoning and subdivision ordinance, the thought of involving the public, what hasn't really been brought up yet, it was more the stakeholders as far as who it impacts. For us, it's not to say we can't send something out to the public. Our consultants have, they do this every day. So we're kind of following their lead.
Okay.
But it's something that as a steering committee, that if we meet and we think that it is important, then that is something we could pursue.
That being said too, would you want a primary and an alternate as commissioners? Basically, because like Greg said, our schedules are already enamored with meetings. Bruce?
Yeah, I think that would be fine, and then we know, and then it'll be important, I think, that the steering committee talk about the input they would like, and that might include even a workshop with you all as a group. So I would suggest a primary and an alternate, yeah.
And yes.
Yeah.
Thank you.
All right, so what'd you guys decide, Rayanne primary and Gary or Greg alternate?
Don't care.
Or do you want to do two alternates in case there's two? That way Greg and Gary are both listed?
That's fine.
Yeah, let's do that. So if you want to do a motion appointing Rayanne and then alternates.
Oh, I'll be happy to. I'll do a motion to appoint Rhiann as primary and Gary and Greg as alternate.
Second.
Any further discussion? We have
Nope. Take a vote.
Aye.
Aye. All those in favor, aye. Boy, was that a railroad. And you withdrew before you made the motion. Well, that's not even fair.
Thank you, Commissioners.
That's only slightly better than being voluntold, so you're all
Yeah,
right.
voluntold.
It's pretty similar.
Yeah, if you don't show up, at least we were here. And now, moving on, Dan, consider approval of resolution in support of the Initiative Foundation 7W U.S. Economic Development Administration application.
Good morning, Commissioners. I did include quite a bit of information in your packet today, but I'm just going to give a few highlights so you understand what the request is today. We are looking to form an economic development district with Benton, Sherburne, Stearns, and Wright County that would allow us to apply for additional federal EDA funds. And they do have a specific coal transition community grant, so that's what we would be seeking. At this time, all the other counties are speaking like we are today in front of their boards. Wright County has said they're not interested at this time, but I think if we were able to show in those first 12 months some success of bringing funds to the region, that they may reconsider that at some point. I do have a map on the screen. Most counties within, or most regions within Minnesota are within an economic development district, and you can see there's a big gap where Sherburne, Wright, Stearns, and Benton are. The metros typically are not involved in this. They have their own funding streams. And then down in Rochester is the Mayo Clinic, so they have kind of a different economic development path down there as well. You can see 85% of the counties in the nation are covered in an EDD, so we're one of the 15% that is not, obviously. So I do have a resolution included in the packet today for support. What it is asking is for the Initiative Foundation to serve as a host. They do serve all 4 counties. I am on their board of trustees, so we have a direct connection to the Initiative Foundation. And then we're also asking for the application to be submitted. We are not asking to approve bylaws or asking for funding at this point. This is simply to name the Initiative Foundation the host and submit the application. We would come back if the application is accepted and create those bylaws and structure, and we do have a draft created. And then we would possibly discuss funding going forward, but I would not ask for funding unless we're successful over the next 12 months. So we would get an $80,000 grant from the federal EDA as part of this, and the Initiative Foundation and McKnight Foundation have offered to match that the first 12 months. So today's request has no funding attached to it.
Am I maybe misspeaking, but I think the GSDC is in huge support of this?
They're a supporter of this as well, yes.
Yeah.
And Mr. Chair, so is our EDA. It's been before us, and it was enthusiastically supportive of us going this route.
Okay.
Yeah, Mr. Chair, and just for the rest of the board, this opens, once approved and once this is formed, this opens up a considerable opportunity for economic development funds that we just simply don't have access to right now. And as you can see from the map, we're one of the few areas that doesn't have something like this. So especially in light of the closure of the Sherco facilities and some of the other tax base loss that we've seen, I think this is really important.
Has Wright County spoke why they're against it at this point?
Yes, but I can't speak to it's.
Okay.
They don't want another level of government, which is what they feel this is. So that's
Okay.
why I feel if we bring success to the region, they might reconsider.
Okay.
Yeah, and as you know, the other 2 counties are discussing this too, and I think you might get a call or 2, and I hope that you'd be willing to advocate for it. We've been working on this for quite a few
7
years.
years.
Yeah, and it might even be worth, maybe Dan and I might ask you guys to make a few calls to a couple commissioners that are new to the Wright or to Stearns and Benton's board and maybe don't have the history, because it really is a lost opportunity. And so Dan's going to be up at least in
Stearns County next.
In Stearns, and I know we're in conversation with Benton to make sure they understand the value of it. So,
And to be clear for the board, we can move forward with 3 of the 4.
Okay.
We need 3 of the 4, but we can move forward if Wright's not participating initially.
Okay, all right.
Yeah. We need to be doing everything we can to increase, particularly our industrial base.
So, looking for a motion.
I would make that motion to approve the resolution in support of the Initiative Foundation 7W U.S. Economic Development Administration application.
Second.
Second by Commissioner Halls. Any further discussion? All those in favor?
Aye.
All those opposed? Motion carries.
Thank you.
Receive, review, and accept the Auditor Treasurer's monthly report for June. Good morning, Lorraine.
Good morning, Commissioners. How are you?
Great.
Good. Enclosed in your packet was the June trial balance. It's tough to be talking about that this late in July, but here we are. That was prepared by Accounting Manager Sherlyn Kapsner. Can you flip to the first screen there? Sorry. The general fund balance does not include period 1 tax settlement, which is posted now in July. That posting is approximately $20 million. Towns and cities, Fund 82, and school districts, Fund 84, are reporting negative balances as we have already paid out 2 50% estimates to those school districts before that journal entry transferring the funds is in there, and also a 70% estimate to towns and cities before the final settlement was spread out of Fund 81. The final payout to the individual entities was almost $11 million, and that was paid on July 7th, 2025. This report also includes ARPA funds of $1,683,483.73 and the Recorder's Compliance Fund of $282,680. The next screen is one of the 3-page investment report prepared by Financial Officer Brenda Davis. Investment earnings are above budget by $785,562.73 at month end. Interest earnings year to date total almost $2 million compared to $1.7 last year, ahead by $280,083.82 from the previous year. The next slide shows our disbursements of our investments. And the next slide is the actual financial institutions that those monies are located in. The next slide, page 6, is your budget to actual report by function, and this is a modified accrual report. The next slide is the actual funds distribution for period 1 tax settlement. As you can see, what we distribute to us is over $102,000. Yes.
102 million.
Okay. 2024 annual comprehensive financial report is complete and was submitted to the GFOA on June 30th. You should have received your copy by email. The report will also be out on our website. It is not out there as of this morning, so I am following up on that to see what that delay is, but it should be up there soon.
You know, Lorraine, there's an IT director who might be listening right now, so
I
we'll see
know,
if we can get
but
him working on it.
It would be internal in my office that it's been delayed, so
I just
I
wanted to
apologize
pick
for
on
that.
Drew,
I know.
sorry.
I don't want to mess with him right now. He's kind of important to our office. So, yeah, it's not on him, it's on me. So I am very proud to say that we completed the financial statement in-house for the first time since 2019. So with very minimal support from the auditors and no extension. So kudos to my staff. They worked incredibly hard on getting that accomplished. Elections, we're going to have a little update on that following this report. So that'll be coming shortly, but that is what I have for you with this.
Motion to approve the
I'll second that, and thank you again for a nice, clear, concise report.
for June 2025.
I just have one quick question. Under your deposits and investments, the Magic Fund in 2024 was 5.3% on average, and now we're down to 4.3%, while all other funds are all up. Is there a reason for that? Magic Fund's always been leading the way.
Magic Fund will go with the market.
Okay.
So, and actually a year ago, the market was higher than it is right now
Okay.
for short-term funds.
All right. Okay.
So
Now
so
I
that-
understand.
The Magic Fund rate does change daily,
Okay.
and we do track that, so.
Thank you. Any other discussion? We have a motion on the floor. All those in favor?
Aye.
All those opposed? Report accepted. Thank you.
Thank you.
So just so you know, Lorraine and Dan have like special levers for the Magic Fund, so we always lower it right before budget discussions. So, and then we can raise it up later, so.
Yeah,
Yeah, well.
okay. Okay. Okay.
Sorry, we're being a little punchy.
I don't have that magic lever. I'm sorry, but.
I'm a little punchy. I was working on budget till midnight last night, so.
County election update. Bruce, Drew,
Right.
and Lorraine.
Yeah, and actually, I think Drew and Lorraine are here for questions. Well, thank you. And then Ken's going to present following me, specifically with respect to the issue of the voter registration rolls, which was a follow-on question. But I wanted to give you our final report on our review of the election night reporting error. I'll make sure you get a copy of this slide deck, and my intent would be, with your permission, to post this afterwards. It's a little bit more in the narrative, simply because when we talk about procedures, some of those are secure, so they're confidential. But if you want a more description of the procedures I talk about, Lorraine can fill that in with Don, again, kicking us under the table. So with that, I'll go through these fairly quickly and then answer any questions, but obviously feel free to interrupt. And there's not a surprise to these, but I also didn't intend to surprise you by having you see these for the first time. So it's pretty repetitive from what you've seen before. All right, so a couple things we'll do. We're going to talk about final findings. We'll recap the error of election night and then talk about the improvements and corrections undertaken. I updated my worst case night since we had a bad one, but you guys all remember historically what happened nationally. With respect to final findings, all ballots, and these are all conclusionary now, so all ballots were properly received and secured. Chain of custody was maintained, party balance was utilized where required. Tabulations were completed and documented. Election day voting results, those are the precinct votes. The second tranche is absentee ballots mailed in or dropped off, and the third tranche are the direct voting machines. And again, our error was with the third tranche on how those were uploaded. I must be just far enough away. Also, in terms of fall findings, all summary reports, which we call tapes, were confirmed. We confirmed that the local totals matched the precinct numbers and the ballot numbers, and there was no change from the initial election night totals. So everything trued up for the election itself. State laws, timelines, and procedures were met. That's important. This was not a legal issue. The unofficial results that are reported on election night are designed by the Secretary of State to get information out there, but they're unofficial for a reason. That does allow for both audit and corrections, and those do occur from time to time. It's important to note that our regular audit did identify that reporting error, and that we immediately followed the procedures to correct that error 2 days later. And so the procedures and the process worked, with perhaps some very serious questions about timeliness and why there would be a need for correction at all. The recounts that were conducted afterwards, and we were in the middle of these, if you recall, the last time we had a formal discussion, but we confirmed recounts, And you can see the three major recounts we had: City of Baldwin, Minnesota District 14B, and ISD 728. At least within one of those, ISD 728, we actually stopped the recount at a certain point because it was clear that the errors in reporting were not reflected in the ballots themselves. For board information, the cost to the county was just over $7,000 to conduct those discretionary recounts. And actually, one was mandatory, wasn't it, Lorraine? Yeah. And then following that, we had our post-election review, which is required under statute. This also confirmed the election results and the integrity of the ballot process as well as the count. And then the Secretary of State has completed their review of our election night errors, and they have closed the book on that and found that the policies and procedures were followed, statute was followed, and they are working with us on basically procedural changes and possibly some statewide corrective actions to prevent the issue in the future. So, and Lorraine can talk to you about ultimately how many ballots were touched by recount, but it was a very significant number this year. So a normal year when you do a post-election review of 3 precincts or maybe 4, we touched a lot of ballots. So those who like that, like you know, the best of Minnesota, we have electronic counting, but paper ballots. We put a lot of effort into that this year. Okay, so the reporting error itself. If you recall, the first upload to the Office of the Secretary of State's system, which is called ERS, happened around 9 p.m. Securely and correctly uploaded were the election day voting results, and at that time it was about a third of the precincts. Absentee ballots, which were direct mail voting machines, but the absent ballots that were mailed in or dropped off is where we had our error. If you recall, the two absentees are merged when they're uploaded, and so it's meant as a security and a reporting thing. What happened is the upload contained only test batch data that had not been cleared from a hard or a memory card that's used to transfer securely from the counting computer to the election server, and then from there uploaded to the Secretary of State. Specifically, 160 batch files were correctly copied, but there was test data that remained, and that superseded in the upload. Later that night, there was a second upload to the Secretary of State's office. Election day voting results, that was all the remaining precincts except for Becker Township. And absentee ballots had been previously uploaded, and there was an attempt to fix the absentee ballots that had the error. That attempt, at the time, staff thought that the first 49 files of those 160 had been properly uploaded, so they attempted to upload the remaining batches. I will note for you and for the record that the Secretary of State actually notified us that night that there was an errant upload. So that's new information for you, but it's good to know that it isn't just a blind system it's going into. When the attempt was made to upload those, it did not fix the error, and in fact our belief is that it basically dumped the attempt because they would have been overwriting some of the issues. The next morning, we did manual input following election night, and that was to input Becker results, township results, as well as there was a single ballot misread. Upon identification of the reporting error during our audit, we immediately contacted the Secretary of State as well as the contractor, identified the problem and the failed correction of that problem on election night. We worked to clear the data in the reporting software system and then reload all of the absentee ballots. And that was then completed. So the check mark is green at this point. Again, that was approximately 40 hours, probably less than 40 hours from the close of election night, but longer than people expected and longer than what should have occurred. A couple other contributing factors to the issue. If you remember, we had a transition of Baldwin from a township to a city. Because of that late transition, we had to do special processing here at the county. That took one staff person off of the floor. It meant we had 2 sets of eyes, one of which is a contractor set of eyes, versus 3. And then the 4th set of eyes was busy with ballots coming in. So our normal staffing complement was tied up. We also had a new compressed timeframe from the state, as well as the check-in process that we were trying to follow and implement. We also had an on-site contractor who was not as experienced as in past, and we think that, that lack of experience probably contributed a little bit to the human factor. And then finally, as you know, there was an expectation here that timeliness mattered because we were late in putting results up in a previous election, and that may have influenced a little bit about get the results up versus having a triple or quadruple check. So on to improvements and corrections. And this is where I think you are most going to be interested in focusing. First of all is we have recommended that we look at the issue of labeling the ICC test files as test files versus the election results themselves. We put that request in through IT to the vendor as well as for the Secretary of State to consider this. This is somewhat problematic, and I understand why, and this will come back later as we address what probably is the most important fix. But if you think about it, if you want to test the actual function of the equipment, then do you want a file that says test file, or do you want a file that says election results? So in a perfect world, you want to test the actual file that you would be using. But at our time, we're thinking, well, is there a way to do this to reduce the risk that you have an election results file that is actually a test file? So they're looking into whether that's a color code or a certain flag, but in a perfect world, you want to test it exactly as you use it that night, and that's why renaming that file might be somewhat problematic, but that is still in play. We also want to ensure that the ICC memory card is properly cleared after the public accuracy test. This is really important, and we have implemented procedures that are now in place so that this occurs, including an affirmative checklist that the card itself, as well as the processing computer, is completely cleared. We have also requested that the vendor look at whether there can be an affirmative prompt. At a minimum, the computer would say, "Thanks, you've cleared the computer. Make sure you can clear your memory cards," or potentially say, "Your memory card is not inserted. You must insert it before we will clear, and then clear it for you." Those would be software changes that would have to be looked at by the vendor and ultimately approved by the Secretary of State. And then second of all is the recommendation from Lorraine and IT was that we have second tested and cleared backup for both the memory card and potentially even the scanning equipment. Because at this location, where it's safe and secure, we've been fortunate enough to deal with equipment that's worked. And so that was, at a minimum, we're looking at next election having additional backup equipment itself. Just a visual again, on the left is the memory card we're talking about, and that is where its port would go into the secure scanning computer. And then on the right is where it's then physically brought to the upload for the secure election server, and then the election server then is connected to a secure uplink to the Secretary of State's office. So there is a tech component to this. Election night, a couple of other things that have been addressed. We have procedures now that we will physically print and cross-check the data prior to it being uploaded. I do note in there QA, quality assurance, so we may not print every precinct or every batch. We may just do a random test to make sure that it is accurate. The reason why we can do it with a QA is because we believe the most important change is the next one. We were looking for a way to flag anytime there's improperly uploaded or duplicated batch files. The Secretary of State is talking about creating a landing page. A landing page or a sandbox in tech world is a place where the upload would go to a secure location but not be public facing. That would then allow every county to visually see the data before it's published, if you can understand that. That would be a huge, huge increase. That would also then allow us with procedures to not just check before we upload, but then check after we upload. Additional staff and oversight of reporting and upload process has been addressed by Lorraine in terms of her staffing assignments for election night. We also have been working to address the issues that we have with the vendor. I would note we still haven't gotten our final answer. Lorraine is tried to get them to understand that there was a cost associated with this. And so when it comes to renewal, we may have some conversations as well with the vendor. And then finally, in terms of priority, we're going to flip prioritization again back to probably where it always should have been, accuracy versus timeliness. So if we're going to be criticized, we want to be criticized that it's slow to get the data, not that the data might have errors. Also then, again, the most important thing would be the idea that the Secretary of State has indicated a strong interest in developing a landing page. That would allow for verification before publication. It would also actually preserve the integrity of the results because this would not allow for people to manipulate within the landing page. What would happen is it's a read-only. So if you see an error, you still have to go back to existing procedures, which is what we use 2 days later. You wipe out all of your upload and you start again. So we don't want to create another error risk by doing this. And so it's really a unique situation, and I really like it. Also, I want to note, new for information today, we were not the only county that had, and that should say test data, that had an upload error with test data. So we learned from the Secretary of State that we were not alone that night. It appears the other counties were able to correct it perhaps in a more timely fashion. But because this was an error in the very complex election management system, the idea of a landing page is gaining traction. So we're pretty excited about that. And then finally, again, the idea of ensuring timely completion of the initial audit and reporting results. This, in a nutshell, says even if staff is tired after an all-nighter, we're not going to wait 24 hours to take a look at our issues. We're going to find a way to staff it so that immediately the next day after the election, we will have somebody put eyes on this. Because that extra 24 hours, while it was very appropriate and humane in terms of staffing, it led to a longer lag time before we identified the error and corrected it. So that's, again, a policy, process, and staffing result of that. So final comments. Initially, you remember right after it, we were focusing on the potential of it being a technology failure, like a bad memory card, or the limitations of the technology, and the involvement of human oversight and the limitations that we had in how we managed the human interface. In our preliminary report that we brought to you in November, December, we were more inclined to see the technology limitations and how they constrained us, as well as the involvement of human oversight and limitations, both of that night and in general. Our final assessment is I would flip that presumption. The technology was what it was, and it did have limitations, and we're going to try to improve that. But that at the end of the day, the human involvement with the technology and its limitations is probably the driving force behind the error, and ultimately it's the driving force behind making sure the error doesn't happen again. So a slight shift in presumption from our initial 24-hour assessment to now several months later. With that, I will stand for any questions. Again, Lorraine and Drew are here to answer any questions, and then when we're completed, then we'll transition with Ken to talk about the voter registration rules.
Mr. Chair, just a couple of things that I'd like to highlight you went through this fairly quickly, but there's a couple of things I want to highlight. One is, can you highlight which of the either recounts or accuracy checks are hand counts?
Sure.
Commissioner, all recounts are hand count?
So for example, when all these recounts that confirm the election results, the City of Baldwin, Minnesota District 14B, IC 728, those were all hand counts, correct?
All hand counts of the paper ballots to compare with the election night results from the machines.
Yep.
And then the post-election review is also a hand count.
Correct.
And we did 3 precincts or 4?
3.
3 precincts were randomly selected for the post-election review, which is also a hand recount.
Yep. So the post-election review is 3 precincts. Is it all elections within those precincts?
On a state general presidential year, it is only the state decides which actual races are counted.
Mm-hmm. And then we randomly select 3 precincts to verify the results against what the tapes say. Correct?
Correct.
Okay. Mm-hmm. So those are all hand counts. That's why we have the paper ballots. So those hand counts take place every election, and then all of the recounts are hand counts. So the second The second clarification that I wanted to have was election night, with the exception of the one ballot that we were struggling with. Our local results didn't change, correct? Other than that one bad ballot that we were having trouble getting to run.
When you say local results,
What I mean is the results that were reported on the tapes from the results that were reported on the tapes, those didn't change.
they did not.
Right.
What changed was the state website, what we reported to the state website.
Right.
What came into us from the precincts did not change.
And why I'm bringing that up is there was a perception in the public that the actual results changed.
Correct.
That the results that we saw from the counts got modified. And that's not the case. What those results, with the exception of the one ballot, and I know you guys worked for hours on that one ballot trying to get it to run. With the exception of one ballot out of all the ballots that were run in the county, those local results, the results reported on the tapes, never changed. What changed was uploading the aggregate results to the Secretary of State's website. So it was a reporting issue, not a counting issue. That's important to know. Mm-hmm. And it was verified by hand counts.
Correct.
Right? That's why our system is a little bit different than some other systems get reported in the national news. Because our system has a physical paper backup that is physically hand recounted to verify the machine results of the precincts. So those are important clarifications that I just wanted to make sure that are on the record, because we do verify by hand counts that the results are accurate. Okay?
And statute requires a randomness test. That's why you randomly choose 3 precincts versus hand counting every precinct. Mm-hmm. To your point, now 5 years ago, one of the challenges with the way the Secretary of State reports unofficial results on election night was that they would say 100% of precincts reporting, when in reality it was more accurate to say 100% of precincts are reporting some results. So if you went on the website at 9:30, you see numbers, then you come back at 9:45, those numbers change. Well, that's because more results are in. They made a change to that for last year, but it's still confusing for people to understand that depending on when you go onto that website, the numbers you see will change. And that's because they're unofficial results. There's still uploads going on. In the case of an audit or an error, there's real-time corrections. That's all managed on the back end, but you are correct on the front end. It seems like it's magic. It went up, went down. We had that in particular in 14B, because you're talking about ballots from, I believe, 3 different counties.
Several different counties, correct.
And I do know somebody said, well, gosh, it changed, and we know it wasn't our precinct. We suspect there was a late Benton County precinct, I think, that came in late that we don't have any control over. But that's the frustration is people think the first time they look on the screen, it's done, and it's not.
Well, and I'll just speak, because I think I'm the poster child for that, right? Yeah. Because in 2020, in 2020, we were dealing with a very challenging election situation. According to the Secretary of State's website, 100% of precincts were reporting, and it showed me ahead. However, what I did notice was the total voter counts were much lower than previous years. So I was suspicious. However, woke up the next morning, the full totals were in. My wife awakened me with, "Well, you lost." Thanks, sweetie. But then the totals matched up with what was more representative of a standard election. So I wasn't necessarily surprised. So, but that's, to your point, is when at the time, the Secretary of State's website, when it said 100% precincts reporting, it was 100% of precincts have some results, right? So that's important to know. Now, has that changed?
Well, it changed for last year. I don't remember the language. I was just looking to see if I could call it up, but
So-
I know they're still trying to address it, right, Lorraine?
They are still trying to address it. I believe they've got a fix for it. The reason it was showing 100% was because if we uploaded our absentee ballot file, we do the entire county. So every precinct would have some votes in it. So the OSS system looked at that and said, okay, we've got something from everybody, so they're 100% here. It didn't look, it doesn't compare anything to anything else. It doesn't mean the precinct, the feet on the ground, that file was in and uploaded. So yes, that was a problem. Obviously not just Sherburne County, that was across the state.
Mr. Chair.
So I believe their fix has been when we upload a precinct, that is when it will pick up the absentee ballot files because they are flagged as different. So,
Mr. Chair, and this has been something that has been going on forever.
yes.
Ever since you were able to follow these things online. For them to get that wording so people understand what they're looking at in the face of the change of
Yes.
the night and such is not the absolute correct results. And so you have to keep that in your mind, that this is just preliminary results. So I'm happy to hear that they're finally working on getting some language, because I've been saying that for quite a while. This is very confusing for the public.
It is.
And so I'm happy to see that they're actually taking it to deserving something different in language for understanding for the public.
And the public needs to know that even though it is uploaded there, that it is still being proofed and made sure that those numbers are correct.
Well, and we have to remember in 2022, in the middle of COVID, I think we had 5 days because of what we call UACAVA, or, the overseas ballots. And there was even, like, if it was postmarked, to count it because we were in the middle of a global pandemic. And it's a very interesting duality. At one point, you can see how much time we spent on one ballot, because every ballot counts. But on the flip side, when you're processing 100,000 ballots, very rarely do races get decided on one ballot. And so if there's 1 or 2 ballot adjustments during the legal audit timeframe, that's kind of normal business. But again, every ballot counts. And so you have that duality going on at the same time.
Mr. Chair, I just,
sorry.
Obviously, the reporting errors were a huge headache for everyone involved, myself included, because I was the chair. Yay. But in the end, the money that we spent and the time that was put into it, I think was extremely positive. Because what we know after we counted, and I don't remember how many thousand ballots it was, but after we counted all those ballots, we know the system works. So once there's making these corrections and hopefully some reporting corrections at the state, it's going to be accurate. It's just those little public perception things and stuff. We know that the actual ballot tapes and the ballot numbers, we know that that's accurate. We know that it's super accurate. So I like that a lot. It was a positive effect of the whole thing.
Commissioner Schumacher's grinning from ear to ear.
As I do always. When I read this, I thought you guys were going to try to take my election certificate away. No, back to 2020, Mille Lacs County screwed it up too, because I won the election on election night to be mayor of the city of Princeton, and then 4 days later, and Friday, end of business, they pulled the certificate, and I lost the election. And then the auditor treasurer basically walked off the job and went back to the school district, which I'm not mad about, Because the difference is Lorraine is still here. Lorraine's still explaining the process and continuing forward, where you're not bailing on an entire county when you screwed up an election in Mille Lacs County side. So I give the credibility and the accountability to you to stay here and work through this and you know, be diligent about it with you and all of your staff, and I'm thankful for that in this process. And I also want to say, I was a joke. I didn't think you guys were taking my election certificate away, but I just want to break up some of the monotony of the room. So I do thank you for that, and I do, you know, thank you for what you guys did and the staff and the amount of hours that it took. Of course, I was up for election, so I got to see the screen keep clicking, and it was never enough. But I appreciate it.
Despite everything that happened, we are turning it into a learning process, not only for Sherburne County and my staff, but at the state level. We are the poster child for some of our in-house at the state level processes and trainings. So the county support and the things that we did for the public have been held to a very high standard and used as the standard now for counties going forward when they do have to handle situations like we had to go through. So not fun, but we're using it to the best advantage that we have. And yes, we did prove that all of our systems are spot on.
And
so
one more quick thing. We also know how long it takes to actually hand count.
Yes.
I mean, it's,
yes.
I always knew it was a long time, but now we actually know.
Yeah.
You know, so.
Well, and don't forget, the error rate goes up with hand counting.
Yes.
And we saw that. I mean, if you were in that room, you know, we had a number, we were trying to get the ballots there, and we got a bunch of people looking at every ballot. Some of them, they count 3 or 4 times, and they're off by 1 or, you know, over by 1, because then you have the human interpretation involved there too. You know, the machine is pretty conservative, and that's why typically when you hand count, you get
get 1 or
overcounts, right?
2.
Yeah, you get an overcount because people go, oh, I'm confident that was filled in, where the machine said one filled in, it wasn't filled in. So there is always that human interpretation, but error rates actually go up with human counting.
And one last thing, Mr. Chairman, if I could. I will be closely watching our neighbors and friends in Isani County who are going to opt into the paper ballot process, as we've all maybe seen or read in the media. I haven't got to speak to them directly, but I'm very excited to learn about their process in Isani County moving forward in the next midterm elections.
Yep, good for them. I also appreciate the fact that our transparency, our continuing efforts to educate, and like you're speaking to, Lorraine, learning and updating and consistently working on making sure that we are top of a secure election. So, and I can say it's always important for education. Education is key.
Thank you.
When you're done, I just want to note again, as we transition to the second issue, at some point, if you probably, it would be appropriate to receive and accept the final report, and then I intend to publish this. So with the board's permission, then that would be what I would suggest.
Well, then I'd make a motion to approve the final report for the election night reporting error.
Commissioner Hall moves. Is there a second?
I'll second.
Second by Commissioner Danielowski. Any further discussion? Seeing none. All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye. All those opposed? Motion carries.
And then with that, we'll transition to Ken, who's going to talk a little bit about the voter registration rules. And again, Lorraine and Drew are here with any questions you might have as it relates to election law, election processes, or the IT side of it.
Good morning, Commissioners.
Morning, Ken.
I'll try to keep this short. I know it's been a long morning for you guys. I say I'm going to speak on the voter registration for Sherburne County. I say all voter registrations are on file with the Secretary of State's office in a database which is known as SVRS, which is the Minnesota Statewide Voter Registration System. This is a secure database with limited access by the county. Lorraine as the auditor treasurer and Carmen as the chief deputy auditor treasurer have administrative access to SVRS. Also, as the election administrator for the county, I also have administrative access. We set up election officials and staff with limited access to this database. There is a two-tier security system set up to access the database. And then registrations are received via paper or electronically. Paper registrations come to the county in person at the front counter, or they're mailed directly to us or to the Secretary of State's office, or they're also dropped off at the Secretary of State's office. The Secretary of State's office does notify us which way they received it so that we can actually document it on the voter registration form. Electronic registrations come in as an online applications from the Secretary of State's office or from the Driver Vehicle Services or DVS. Electronic registrations are worked within a 24 business hour time frame. Paper applications are entered as they are received, and then same day registrations from election days must be entered into SVRS within 6 weeks after the election. I receive approximately 6 to 9 new applications from the DVS opt-out program every day. On average, I receive 2 declines from the DVS opt-out program from the state on a bi-weekly basis or so. Once the registrations have been entered into the SVRS, it will be verified by the Department of the Driver Vehicle Services or Social Security the next day. A voter ID number is assigned to the registration. If the SVRS system finds a current record that matches, such as a driver's license number or a social security number, it will notify us so that we can research to make sure that we're not creating a duplicate voter record. If the information comes back so that it cannot be verified, I will research why it's not matching. The majority of the time, this is due to the fact of people changing names to marriages or divorces. And that also, I will follow up with the voter and let them know that we'll be challenging their record until they update their last name with the Driver's Vehicle Services or Social Security so that we can confirm that they are who they are. I will also call voters to verify information on the application, as some paper applications, the handwriting is hard to read. If we cannot verify their information, they will be challenged as an unverifiable voter, and they will have to prove their identity next time they vote. The voter registration applications will now have their permanent absentee box removed as of January 1st of this year. That was already removed off the paper applications. Electronically, that will happen as of January 1st, 2026. And that is per Minnesota, as Minnesota revised the statute in 2025 legislation session this year. A separate application will be needed to be completed to be added to the permanent absentee list now. Each month our office receives the following reports. There's a death report that is sent out monthly. The report comes from the Secretary of State's office, which is sent to them by the Department of Health. Upon receipt of the report from the Secretary of State's office, I will research each name on the report to match them to make sure that the correct voter is being marked as deceased. Some records will have voters that are still registered in a different county, and I will reassign it to the correct county, and then I also notify the county that we are sending them more information that they have a voter that needs to be marked as deceased. Vital records from our recorder's office, which is used as a cross-check to the Secretary of State's death report. I also receive reports from other county departments, which they find a voter that is still registered in Sherburne County, which I will have to mark as deceased because we cannot mark deceased from another county. Changes in an address report come to us via different sources, such as the post office and the ERIC system, which is the Electronic Registration Information Center. I receive paper addresses from other states that are mailed to our office and to the Secretary of State's office. Those that have moved out of state are marked as inactive after 30 days from being notified to us. After their address change has been changed, the SVRS system sends out a postal verification card, which we call a PVC, to confirm the move. PVCs are also sent to voters who have moved out of state to also confirm that they have moved out of state. If I receive a card back as undeliverable from the post office, the voter registration will be challenged until they can prove their residency address. The Department of Corrections also sends us a report monthly. This report will notify us of any voter who is incarcerated and that their registration needs to be challenged. The report will also note if a voter has voted while being incarcerated. These voters' records are researched. If we find out that they have voted while being incarcerated, their file is referred to the county attorney. They say voters who are no longer incarcerated are also listed on this registration report, and then we will mark them unchallenged and they become an active voter again. They say maintenance reports are run every month. These reports can be run in several different configuration options, including duplicate voter records, date of birth records, social security numbers, driver's license numbers, and name matches. Also with voters without an address range in this database or the SVRS system, voters with an invalid date of birth or a possible invalid address range. If a duplicate record is found, it is researched to make sure that they are the same, and if they are, the records are merged. One maintenance report that I created is people having a physical address listed as a post office or a UPS store. In November of 2021, we had 23 people on this report. We now have the report down to 2 people. Those 2 people are still currently challenged with a postal return and noted that they need a new address. They will fall off the active list as of January, and if there's no activity. United States Post Office and UPS store addresses have been blocked in the SVRS system, and I've also have noted or blocked the St. Cloud Correction Facility because that address was never blocked. Say in the middle of January every year, the Secretary of State's office runs their annual maintenance list report. This report will move voters that have not voted or had activity in the last 4 years to an inactive status. The voter will need to re-register to vote again. In January of 2025, Sherburne County had 2,910 voters that were inactive or marked as inactive from that report. And then election laws that have changed due to the 2025 legislation session. Distribution of an absentee ballot application and sample ballots by a person or entity that is not a unit of government or an election official that mails absentee ballots or sample ballots to include a specific statement on the application or the sample ballot and the envelope as of January 1st, 2026. If the absentee ballot application is included, the space on the application indicates that the applicant's preference to join the permanent absentee list must be left blank. And then the last one is the absentee ballot application will now require a voter applying for an absentee ballot online that they must provide their driver's license and social security number. If the voter does not have both, they must provide one and certify that they do not possess the other type of documentation effective as of January 1st of 2026. This will help reduce the number of absentee ballots being rejected for not listing the correct identification that was used to request the ballot. Sherburne County had 341 initial ballots rejected in the general election of 2024, which was a 2%. That's all I have for you guys, unless you guys have questions.
Mr. Chair, I do have a quick question. I'm happy to see the change in the 2025, making those correction or those changes to the ballot process. I think that's going to be highly effective, because when they send out those things from various organizations, it's very confusing for voters. So I think that is really going to be key to reduce some of that confusion that a voter will have.
I think that was the point of them making that change, was it was very confusing to the voter.
Again, just so I make sure I'm clear. So the death rolls come out once a month?
Correct.
Yeah, you verify that. And then if someone moves, you get that information sort of in real time, either through the post office or a couple other databases, correct?
Correct. They say that information goes to the Secretary of State's office, and they send us that report once a month also.
So you get that once a month. So if someone moves, you get that once a month. If the death rolls, you get once a month. You've got the data query for valid addresses, and you talked about that, and that goes down to, you said that's down to 2 addresses at this point.
Correct.
So, okay. Appreciate it. Thank you for the report.
I got nothing. Got nothing. Anybody else? Thanks, Ken.
Great. Thank you.
I think that's all we had on that item. Just a note for timing as you go to commissioner correspondence. We have a hard start at 12 noon. We will have lunch here probably within the next 10 minutes in back. I will tell you the food truck is not here today, so you're stuck with whatever Chrissy ordered for us. We're going to set up this for the workshop unless you want to be in back, but I think it's better for budget if we all sit around here.
Yeah.
So we'll set up a square table. The one thing I would note is, just given so you can have a decent break, it's going to be a long day. If you want to truncate your commission reports, I know they're long because we haven't met, but I would say if you then submit them to me, we'll put them in the official record that way. So maybe just summarize them and then you can bullet them to me.
I would just as soon do them.
What's that?
I would just as soon do them.
Yeah, that's fine, whatever you want to do. I'm just saying, you've got about a half hour before we get going. And then the last thing is when you do take the break, if anybody's interested in doing a discrete lobby tour for what happens Saturday, just let me know and I'll take you out there.
Okay.
Commissioner Schumacher wants to go first.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. I'll lead the way, and it'll go fast. District 5 County Meeting. I went to that last month. It wasn't noted on the report, so I just want to make sure it gets noted here. I attended the Rum River Watershed Meeting, followed by the City of Princeton City Council Meeting, Baldwin City Council Meeting, Zimmerman City Council Meeting, constituent questions both in 55398 and 55370 over the road construction and how great our Public Works Department is doing on both of those very, very large projects. I will attend the school board meeting for the Princeton School District to thank them for the access through their property so we could access EMS for that coming in the future. And then regardless of what you guys seen on the internet over the weekend, District 5, Sherburne County is the best drivers. No matter what you've seen about that roundabout that's not open and that car that had the entire carriage ripped out of the bottom of it because it entered it without any asphalt, we are still the best drivers. Thank you for having me, guys.
Commissioner Halls.
Yeah, I'll just make mine fast. The two big things were the EDA meeting where we talked about the development district, and I think that's moving along nicely. And I think that's, as I mentioned in that particular piece, that's going to be important for us. There are significant dollars available for economic development that we don't have access to until we're part of one of those districts. Secondly, and probably more importantly, I've had multiple meetings with Congressman Emmer's office and his legislative director over what the impacts will be specifically to the counties over any cost shifts associated with HR 1. A lot of our discussions have been over the additional verification requirements, the additional where that number got doubled, the number of times that the verification has to have for SNAP, for example, for Medicaid, and I've also gone over with them a number of times, which was new information to the legislative director on our HHS IT systems and how archaic they are and why it's a big issue, and discussing with them, even though there are significant additional verification requirements, if those processes can be mandated in such a way that it makes it easier for us to do that work and makes those verifications faster, that will help us to minimize any costs associated with HR 1. That's it for me.
Commissioner Danielowski.
Attended the tour of Northern Meadows.
Brianna, I don't know if your mic's on, so.
Sorry. Attended the tour of Northern Meadows up in Becker. That was a really good tour, although it rained very hard. Everybody got very wet, but it was nice that they opened that up to show us how it all operates, and they're still doing some additions to the campus. They want to expand their ability to take metal from the private sector as well, and so that will be happening soon. So It was a good tour. I did see some of it as it was raining. I bowed out because I had already seen some of those areas, and I went inside and waited for the group. Also attended the Big Lake Township meeting that evening, attended the Tri-County Solid Waste Board meeting, the NACO CEWD meeting, which is the Economic Workforce Development Group, and I was able to MC the Spudfest Parade on June 28th. Did the AMC Lunch and Learn on the state of rural Minnesota and migration trends. And it was interesting to see, I did share that with our economic staff because I think the numbers were interesting. We will continue to be growing. Other parts of the state are not, but we are in a corridor that will continue at a growth rate. And then also, township meeting that evening, attended the LAC meeting, which is Adult Mental Health and Local Advisory Board. Attended, I was on the Emmer call as well, and very appreciative of all of the support for the project in my district for the wastewater expansion dollars, and also very much appreciative of their support of the need to help find dollars to help us do the renovations to our county jail. And also then attended the AMC Understanding Federal Changes to SNAP Benefits and the impact it's going to have for Minnesota counties. It was interesting to learn that the federal, feds send about 50% of the revenue comes from the federal level for SNAP. That is going to be reduced by 25%. So it's going to, we'll have to wait and see because that money technically goes to the state first before it comes out to.
It's reduced to 25, not by
Yes.
25.
Yes.
Okay.
Thank you for the clarification. So we'll have to wait and see how that will impact that program. Also, Bruce, can you remind me, I know there's another webinar coming up in a couple of weeks. I highly recommend that if you can, that you sign up for it, and this one will be around Medicaid. And that date is?
I'll look it up here.
Okay, perfect, thank you. Because these were very interesting information and a lot of good opportunity to ask questions. And then also attended the Sherburne County EDA meeting that Commissioner Hall's already referred to, and attended the Big Lake Substance Use Prevention meeting, and they basically were looking at updating what it is they're going to be working on next year in regards to substance use prevention for our youth. And then I also did want to put out there that I think we all received an email in regards to County Road 43 and County Road 14 and the concern for the speeds and such that are happening along there. I was hoping that we could have some kind of a conversation. What can we do? I know those speed limit signs that, you know, blink at you that you're doing this speed level, I think are really good, because whenever I see one and it's like, oh, wait, I got to bring this down, I think is very helpful. And maybe look at, I don't know if you can put up probably a ton of different speed limit signs, but obviously those are just recommendations.
Yeah, we just typically refer that to the sheriff for the temporary signs, and then Andrew for a speed sign.
Yep.
If the board wants to have further discussion, we can do that, but typically we immediately get it to those two agencies.
Yeah, yeah, because I just think it's become a big concern. Speed, we can't control human nature, unfortunately, but it does seem that people are just really driving way faster than they've been.
Yeah, if you recall, Andrew had that, and we'll adjust it on the tour, but he had that rural speed study that showed that speeds are going up all across the system.
Yeah.
Your date is Thursday, August 7th from 9 to 10 for the Medicaid cuts, and I did send that out, but I'll resend it to all commissioners.
I think that would be helpful. And when you're talking about the speed limits or the speed that people are doing are going up, what is frustrating is when you do request a speed limit study from the state, they'll go out there and then they'll look at where people look like they feel comfortable driving. And it's like, just because you might feel comfortable doing 80 doesn't mean you really should be doing 80. So that's always been the frustration at the speed limit studies, in my opinion, at least. So that's it. Thank you.
There's a lobby question. So we're speaking of it. More local control over our speed limits. There's one.
Yeah, I saw Andrew said that townships and cities can do their own roads.
Yes.
But we can't do our roads. So I think it's a good point. Yeah, I'll add that to our list.
Okay.
Sure, you're next.
All right, here we go. I'll try to speak fast, but I got a lot. Initially, not speaking too fast, Senator Bruce Anderson from the Buffalo area died this week, and so keep his family in their prayers. And on the same relative subject, Edward Subject, formerly of the Minneapolis Police and the Rogers Police Department, who was literally one of the best cops I ever met and ever worked with, and a mentor to hundreds of other officers, also lost his fight with cancer yesterday. So keep his family in your prayers. I was appointed by AMC as the AMC alternate to the State Emergency Communications Board. Commissioner Gamache from Anoka County is the primary. In a bonus for me, that particular appointment came with about 8 hours of meetings in the next week, so I'm really looking forward to that. I also went on the tour of Northern Metals, and I will be going back out there to actually watch the machine do some crunching, because that place is super fascinating. The Great River Regional Library Finance Committee, we moved our budget forward, and we discussed a little bit Eller's public financing, rather than using magic for the Great River Regional Library Board. Wright County has done this, and this will come back up when we get back to a little bit further down. Tri-County Waste Committee, I'm on the future plans. There really isn't a positive plan for the 45,000 tons of trash that is currently going from Tri-County. The majority of trash from the Tri-County area that doesn't already go to the burner out at Pope Douglas is coming to our landfill. Some of the folks on the board didn't realize how much it was. Dave Lucas is going to prepare a tonnage report for the next one. One of the other things that came up at the Solid Waste Future Plans meeting is that we started discussing actually building a transfer station to separate trash and accept Metro trash. I think that's a really good idea. For the main Tri-County meeting, the two things I highlighted out of that is that the state did allocate $770,000 for composting. Once again, this reduces what goes into our landfill and is really important, and $250,000 for keeping the ice clean. That's something to think about. I mean, we have that much trash on the ice that the state's going to dump $250,000 into trying to fight that. That's something for further down the road. The Association of Minnesota County Solid Waste Working Group, there was presentations by the Minnesota Public Utilities Commission, which I did forward to the board. There is a landfill draft public commentary right now, so if you have concerns about that, now is your time to speak up on that. AMC Lunch and Learn on the state of rural Minnesota and migration trends. What I highlighted out of that is we definitely need to increase our manufacturing. Educational services, healthcare, and social assistance are the main employers in most counties in Minnesota. We need more industry, period. The MSB final legislative report from Larkin Hoffman was very, very good from the MSB standpoint. Packaging Extended Producer Responsibility Advisory Board meeting. I sat in on that, and I will share that information with the board. Gabrielle Basco-Conley from the Tri-County is on the board. There's a whole lot of good stuff going on over there. It's a relatively new organization. Our next meeting of the Great River Regional Library Finance Committee, we did have not a whole lot going on there. We just had moved the budget forward, which was directly followed by the Great River Regional Library meeting. Some of these meetings that we go to for the general public, I mean, there might be meetings that are an hour, and there's other meetings that go all day or 4 or 5 hours. You know, Great Regional Library goes that way. The Central Minnesota Jobs and Training runs 8-hour meetings. So just something to think about. Passed the majority without issue, tabled the stuff. Let's see. Oh, one of the big things at that meeting is that they did decide to go with Eller's investment to manage some of their money to see how that goes, because Wright County had such good success with it, and they think that it has more flexibility than Magic. I think it would be a good discussion for us at a future workshop or somewhere down the line to think about that also. And then we approved the policy changes in the budget. The AMC webinar and federal changes to SNAP, I sat through that also. One of the things is that states are required to pay a share of their SNAP benefits beyond their payment error. Our payment error in Minnesota right now is running about 8.6. So out of our money that we're paying out now, about over $73 million was paid out in error in 2024. Think about that. Over 12,000 Minnesotans will be affected by the work requirement. So based on the 2024 average payments of $153.27 per month, that alone will cut over $22 million from the SNAP budget. 8,000 current SNAP participants are not U.S. residents or permanent lawful residency. That's going to cut about $15 million. So along with some of the scary news from this thing, there are some positive things that are going to be happening with this. For the 12,000 Minnesotans who are going to have to go back to work, I would totally recommend you get with organizations like Central Minnesota Jobs and Training and start working on getting a good job now. Midwest for Regional Forensic Board, Laboratory Advisory Board meeting. Overall, things are going great, and they did an absolute lights-out job on the investigation for the Anoka County homicide that also includes the landfill in Elk River. Without spending a lot of time on it, had we not had immediate access to that lab, they could have not got everything done as quickly as they got it done. And it's nice to know that we have that in our pocket too for Sherburne County and Wright County should we have some other large case. Those people are fantastic. They're doing a great job up there. We had a meeting on finding a permanent solution to the County 75 landing issue. I think it went really, really well, and there's going to be some continuing meetings, and I'm hoping that resolution will be upcoming. Like I said before, I stopped at the office after the incident. I got out to the fair several times. It was great. 4-H did a fantastic job. I went to the Orac Township meeting. There wasn't a lot to report from there. I went to the Becker Township meeting last night. They have some concerns about the turn back of County Road 93, but the negotiations are ongoing, and I'm just making sure I stay on top of that. One real quick follow-up to the trail discussion from last meeting, because it was asked we're getting the numbers for what I estimated $30 to $40 million at least for these trails. I did use a GIS app, and I measured the trails that were the roadside asphalt trails that were on our intermodal map, and not counting everything in Elk River, not counting the Great River Trail that runs north from Elk River up through Princeton, up through Baldwin, and not counting County Road 30, where we've already decided to put the 6-foot shoulders along the side of the road. There are 60 miles of asphalt. There's 60 additional. Beyond all that, there are 60 miles of roadside asphalt trails. So the minimum cost of that is that 6-foot shoulder, which adds about $400,000 per mile. And as we know, for the County Road 23 trail that we're putting in runs over $600,000, and our little bridge in Big Lake Township is $867,000. So that's where those kind of numbers come from. I've been in contact with Emmer's office on several issues, including the Veterans Accountability Bill, which I think is fantastic. Veterans Burial Accountability Bill, I would like to put that on our agenda in the future to talk about getting in the support for that. Anoka County was a big pusher on that. The problem has been is that the VA can take up to 8 weeks to certify a veteran's death. What the Burial Accountability Bill Act will allow is that within 48 hours, it will permit local coroners, medical examiners, and nurse practitioners to sign that veteran's death certificate, saving those families weeks of anguish. So I'd like to get on board with that, but we need to have that on our agenda somewhere. The Great River St. Cloud snapshot has begun. I just thought I'd mention that. The Great River group up in Great South St. Cloud Development Council there, up there having a snapshot challenge so you could win some prizes by getting involved in that. And last but not least, as I watch the news, I can't help feeling a deep sense of concern and frustration for what's happening to the brave men and women in law enforcement, our military. Across the country, officers are being shouted at, physically assaulted, and even shot at, and shot dead for simply doing their jobs. Some have been attacked off duty because of the uniform they wear and the oath that they took. I speak from personal experience. I was in the Wisconsin and Minnesota Army National Guard, and I was a Hennepin County deputy. In both capacities, I was deployed to civil disturbances in Minnesota, so I have great empathy for those in the street now. Today's climate is even more dangerous. The hostility is stronger. The risks are greater. We didn't arrive here by accident. For over a decade, we've witnessed political rhetoric that undermines law enforcement, while in some cases uplifting those who violate the law. Shockingly, some leaders are still calling for violent resistance against those sworn to uphold it. But I thank God we now have national leadership that's protecting our officers. The President, the U.S. Attorney General, the Director of the FBI, and the Secretary of Homeland Security have made it clear. Those who spit on, assault, or attack our officers will be held accountable. Politically motivated property destruction will not be tolerated. It will be prosecuted. That's the kind of resolve our law enforcement community deserves. Now, I would like to focus on what we can do right here in Sherburne County. What more can we do to support our local, state, and federal law enforcement partners? Let's send a clear message. Sherburne County is the last place in Minnesota that you want to come to if you plan to break the law. I recognize the limitations that state law places on some programs, but I believe that shouldn't stop us. I propose we hold a workshop and invite law enforcement representatives to come speak with us. Let's listen, let's ask questions, and let's explore how we can do more together. We also need to have a serious conversation about policy conflicts, such as the Minnesota law allowing undocumented immigrants to have a driver's license. This directly contradicts federal law. While we face protests and harassments for supporting ICE, I believe in standing firm. We should not shy away from the hard conversations or from doing what's right. So I'd like to set up some sort of a workshop on that in the future. Thank you.
That was more than 2 minutes.
I noticed that.
I'll be quick. I met with Karen Larson, St. Cloud City Council member. She just, her and I are, she's got part of my district up there in Southeast St. Cloud. We're just looking to collaborate more with the county and the city together. I did the Planning and Zoning Commission on the 26th. I did from the 10th to the 14th, I did the NACO conference in Philly. I was there, as you all, I think, have all been to one of those. They're massive. I'm not, just my thought process on it, moving forward, if we're already budgeting for commissioners to go to NACO, basically, are we not?
No.
Okay.
Dan and I are tracking, if you're going to all be more active, we need to increase the budget. We typically budget for one to go to NACO, one or two. If you all go, we'll adjust it, but it's not budgeted for, no.
Okay, my point is, most of the counties now are bringing staff. And
again, we can budget for it, but it's not in the budget.
Right.
So, yeah.
I just think, I tried to go from my Committee of Agricultural and Rural Affairs to Energy to pick out things that were there that were beneficial to the county. Virtually impossible. Some of these facilities, the Philadelphia Convention Center is 5 city blocks. One meeting's 2 blocks away. I mean, virtually impossible to attend them all. But all in all, the NACO conference is tremendous, lots of information, but I think we should explore the fact of, opening it up to let staff go. I think a lot of counties are doing that because a lot of the trade show and stuff like that is more geared towards staff. I can walk up to I will walk up to a booth and not have any idea what they're doing, but I know what staff would, whether that would be a beneficial aspect or not. But the other thing they had the inaugural mid-sized county caucus, which I think fits our mold perfectly. Rural affairs is too small. Large urban caucus over 500,000 is too big. Mid-sized county was great. The basic thing that one guy talked about at the mid-sized county was Google. And the advantageous out there was data centers. Every county's gonna explore that's got an urban aspect is gonna look at data centers. I think that needs to be added to our AMC list of things that, what happened that we are not getting data centers coming to Sherburne County. One thing, the gentleman from Google stated that in there, they've done the calculations and they figure that the energy load that the United States will need by 2030 is the entire size of Japan to increase for AI. So we're gonna need to increase our energy production by the size of Japan to accommodate all of the AI and all of the data centers that are gonna be built. Enough said on that. I did the SNAP webinar like everybody else. I did another planning and zoning meeting, which I've never had two before, another one. And last night I went to the Haven Township Board, which they have lifted their moratorium, Carrie's here, on commercial and industrial things, which is good. We'll get some more economic development out of some areas that have just been waiting to do that. But they're having their own zoning discussions in regards to that. Other than that, I think I'm done.
That was closer to 2 minutes.
That was closer to 2 minutes.
We have scheduled a adjournment and a break for you all.
Time you want to have reconvene?
We're supposed to start at noon, and it'll be, if you would grab your food, you know, you can obviously eat while I'm talking, because I pontificate as well, so.
All right.
But we'll do the opening and try to have Corey, when he gets in at 12:15, you know, hopefully we be done with lunch by then. So we'll set up the tables, you guys take a break, and we'll start at
We're
noon.
adjourned. I will, 12 o'clock noon.